Reborn in India as a Magnate. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. After dinner meeting. It was not until after 5 PM, when the sun had already set, that the little girl returned to her residence panting. Although she spent tens of thousands of rupees on shopping, the little girl was a little rich woman, and she spent all her pocket money. This made Belle Singh very appreciative. At a young age, she knew how to tinker with things at home. It was good to spend her father-in-law's money. The little girl had a good future. When she returned home, the little girl was very happy and wanted Belle Singh to try the traditional Indian gown that she had personally selected. But when she saw Belle Singh falling on the bed, sleeping like a pig, she closed her mouth and smiled and gently closed the door. She sat on the sofa and rested for a while, then went to the kitchen and asked the Brahmin chef to prepare dinner. Last time we talked about Indian dinner, it was really too late, and basically they didn't eat until after 8 o'clock. So there was still plenty of time to prepare dinner, and considering the nutritional issues, today I plan to make a very rich pork chop curry. In layman's terms, it was pork ribs stewed in curry, and a catfish stewed with crispy bones and tender skin, which was considered to be unusually rich. The symphony of pots and pans in the kitchen sounded so harmoniously, and Belle Singh, who was sleeping in the bedroom, slept until after 6 o'clock. Then he got up from the bed, went to the independent bathroom, took a shower, and changed into a set of clean clothes. As soon as he walked into the living room, he saw the little girl fiddling with his spoils in the living room, most of which were clothes. The ratio between himself and the little girl was 1:1, which means that the clothes bought for himself accounted for half of the weight. Seeing her husband get up, the little girl Lina jumped out of the sofa excitedly, and then held a set of pure white long gown with gold embroidery in her hand. There was also a set of very beautiful clothes with shawls and trousers. She ran to Belle Singh and compared them with a smile and said, "Brother Belle, look at how beautiful this set of clothes is. The embroidery is perfect. It suits your temperament very well. Put it on and let me see how I look." Regardless of which country or race women are from, their habits in buying clothes are basically the same. Seeing the little girl so excited, happily buying a set of clothes for herself, there is no reason to let the little girl down. So she took this very gorgeous traditional Indian gown with a smile, went back to the room to change clothes, and when she came out, a very handsome little fat man appeared in front of everyone. The little girl's eyesight was very good. This set of clothes fit very well. Coupled with the gorgeous decorations, it was very beautiful and high grade, but this long gown style dress was not a short shirt worn at home. The clothes almost reached the knees, and it was not convenient to walk around at home, so this gorgeous gown could only be worn for important occasions. Not bad, very beautiful, very in line with Belle Singh's temperament, a standard handsome guy, white and fat, called a rich man. Since putting on this dress gown, it has been unstoppable, and she has changed more than a dozen sets of clothes in succession, which made the little girl very satisfied, and let Belle Singh go. She ran into the house to change into various beautiful saris, and then went in and out like a fashion model to let Belle Singh comment. In his previous life, he had enough experience in treating women to change clothes. He had never eaten pork, but he had never seen pigs run. Every time a woman changed her clothes, Belle would watch carefully. Then he gave her a thumbs up and said at least 5 advantages that made the little girl crazy. She kept praising Belle Singh for her taste. Time was spent in changing and undressing. At 8:30 in the evening, the Belle Singh family had dinner. Because the place was too narrow, so in addition to the chef and servants, Jamal and his grandson also accompanied the couple to eat. Today's pork chops were stewed until crispy and the curry was adjusted. It was not greasy at all, especially when mixed with rice. It was fragrant and hot. The catfish was tender and there were not many fish bones. The large pieces of fish meat were held in the hand and put into the mouth. The juice was full and very mellow. Everyone who had dinner smiled and praised the Brahmin chef for his skills. The salary of 3,000 rupees a month was well deserved. Don't underestimate these 3,000 rupees. In Sinja town, it is considered a high income place. A proper white-collar worker is enough to support her family. After eating and drinking, they sat on the sofa and the coffee table to drink tea and chat. At this time, Felsina coughed and signaled the Brahmin chef with his eyes. The male and female servants can go to the rental house downstairs to rest. The core members of the Belsina family, Jamal the butler and little Jamal, are left upstairs. At this time, Lina took out a complete 3-layer chocolate cake from the refrigerator very well, and then cut 4 pieces and put them on the tea. Put the other half of the chocolate cake in the refrigerator for storage, and then took a small piece of chocolate cake and a cup of black tea, and returned to the room with a smile, leaving the space for talking about business to these men. Of course, the chocolate cakes cut by the little girl are big and small, and the largest piece is of course left for Master Belsina. Indians like to eat sweets very much, and these sweets are really sweet, so sweet that they are basically made of sugar. It was already past 9 o'clock. He ate a belly full of desserts, and then went to sleep without moving. It would be strange if he didn't gain weight. This is why Indians rarely eat meat, but there are so many fat people, all because of eating desserts. Seeing that everyone left tactfully, Belsing picked up the cake and ate a piece of it with a small fork. Then he closed his eyes and enjoyed the pleasure brought by the chocolate for a while. He opened his eyes, looked at Jamal and his grandson with golden eyes, and said with a smile, "Butler Jamal, your Lal family has worked in the Singh family for more than 100 years, and it has been 3 generations. It can be said to be loyal. But I want to ask Butler Jamal, where is the future development direction of our Singh family? Have you been hiding in that small mountain village? Do you sell grain and sheep like a local landlord?" This question was very sudden, and Butler Jamal was not mentally prepared. He was stunned by the question and thought for a long time before speaking. "Master, I have also considered the question you raised. Our family has been developing agriculture for hundreds of years. It can be said that we have spent hundreds of years steadily. However, with the rapid development of society nowadays, it is too difficult to make a difference in agriculture, but there is no good business to do, which has always troubled me. It seems that the old butler is not senile and stubborn, and is trustworthy. At the same time, seeing that the prospects for agricultural development are not very optimistic, he knows to consider choosing a promising development direction for the family, but he has not been able to find any inspiration. So this has been delayed, and coupled with his young age, the old butler chose the safest way, to wait for his adulthood. The loyal old butler is really touching. Even Belsina has to admit that without the old butler, he would not be where he is today. Belsina is very happy to see that the old butler can accept the proposal to change the direction of the family's wealth. Chapter 27, Showdown to the Old Butler. Being able to accept new things and changes in the family's industry is a good sign. At least he didn't have to persuade the loyal old housekeeper, which saved him a lot of trouble. Seeing the old man frowning, Felsina couldn't help but laugh. In the blank eyes of the grandfather and grandson, he said with a smile, "I have been wandering around the town these 2 days. You really don't say that I found a good business opportunity. You often hang out in the town. Don't you think that our Sinja town, except for the bustling central cross street and the high-end wealthy areas on both sides of the temple, are all very old buildings?" After Belsina's reminder, Jamal and his grandson couldn't help but think about it. It was really like this. A large town with a population of more than 100,000, except for the central cross street and the 2 wealthy areas on both sides of the temple. Most of the buildings are 2-story buildings made of stone, mud and wood, and the roofs are covered with thatched roofs. The slums, or suburbs, not only have a bad living environment, but most of the houses are made of wooden planks, which are drafty. Fortunately, there is no winter in India, otherwise many people would freeze to death. In the end, it was the old butler Jamal who was knowledgeable and carefully tasted the meaning behind Belsina's words. Suddenly, he felt very incredible, and asked Belsina seriously, "Master, do you want our family to transform and do some building materials business? You know, the investment in building materials business is too large. Can our family afford it? Besides, those poor people have problems with food, so how can they save money to build a house for themselves? Even if we successfully start the building materials business, the market sales will also be a problem. Seeing the old butler say this, Belsina was still very happy in his heart. At least the old butler's head was not rigid. However, due to the limitations of his own knowledge and narrow vision, he still couldn't see the essence of the matter. The only thing he could use was the grandfather and grandson. Although the old and the young are young, fortunately, both of them are loyal. It is necessary for him to explain his development ideas to the two loyal butlers. Don't let the old man worry and get angry. If you really make a mess, who will you use? So he said with a smile. Butler, you are right. Ordinary people can't afford to build houses now. The reason is that the cost of transporting building materials is too high. We don't have a cement factory or an asbestos tile factory in Sinjar town. All building materials need to be transported back from Udaypur, which is 100 kilometers away. The journey is extremely difficult. The labor cost and transportation cost have increased exponentially. A bag of 50 kilograms of cement can only be sold for 200 rupees in Udaypur. But when it is transported to Sinjar town, the retail price will exceed 300 rupees, and the cost will increase by half. The price is so high, who can afford it? Am I right? Yes, you are right, but this problem cannot be solved. If you want to blame, you can only blame the Indian Congress government for its low efficiency. There is no road or railway between a town with a population of hundreds of thousands and a large city with a population of millions. The transportation cost has always restricted the development of the town. Seeing that the grandfather and grandson nodded to admit what he said, Belsing smiled mysteriously at this time. I'll give you a different way of thinking. Think about it. We have plenty of mineral resources in Sinjar. Why can't we buy a set of cement production equipment? Set up a concrete production company and buy a set of cement asbestos tile production equipment to produce cement asbestos tiles. Local production and local distribution save a lot of unnecessary transportation costs. The sales price of these building materials has been reduced. In this way, do you think the business can be bad? Who wants to live in those houses built of stone and mud? Who doesn't want to live in tall, spacious and bright cement houses? My goodness, the two men of the Jamil family were almost shocked. Their own master Belsing was too bold. How much money would it take to invest? The Singh family has some background and can dominate the town of Sinjar and become a local emperor. But this little asset and the establishment of two such large enterprises, the production of building materials seems to be a drop in the bucket. No matter how good the idea is, it can't be realized. If you borrow money from the bank in the name of the Singh family, it's still okay, but if the business is not good and you can't pay back the loan, you will end up bankrupt. Selling houses and land can't pay back the bank loans. In this way, the entire Singh family's accumulation of hundreds of years will be destroyed. By then, the Singh family will be devastated. Master, are you too brave? The grandfather and grandson looked at each other in shock. They saw the sweat on each other's heads at a glance, which really scared Master Singh. The old butler took a few deep breaths and stood up. He trembled and took the teapot to add a new cup of tea to Master Belsing. Half of it was spilled outside the cup. It can be seen how nervous the loyal old butler is now. At this time, Belsing just smiled and ate the chocolate cake bit by bit with a small fork without any nervousness. After the old butler poured the hot tea, he picked up his cup and drank it in one breath. At this time, he breathed a sigh of relief and said to Belsing, Master, your idea is very grand. If you develop it according to your idea, you will definitely make a lot of money. But Master, our Singh family does not have that much money. If we don't have enough money to buy machinery, land, and mines, can we borrow money from the bank? If something goes wrong, our family will be bankrupt. The old butler still has limitations. Except for the capital New Delhi, the old butler has almost no experience of living in big cities. The reason why the old butler is afraid is that the old butler thinks that he needs to buy equipment from two factories in the machinery manufacturing plant in India, and the cost is huge, and it will take a long time. Now it is a blessing to get the machine 2 years after placing an order. You can imagine how low the work efficiency is. Moreover, these machines are expensive, the quality is not very good, and they always break down. But the cost of purchasing imported machinery and equipment from foreign countries is rising. What can the Belsing family do with the little money? No matter how the old butler thought about it, he didn't expect that Belsing imported machinery from foreign countries, but the exporting country was not Europe but China. The machinery is still 90% new. Although the machinery made in China is not as good and strong as that made in Germany, it is still more than 10 times better than that made in India. And the most important thing is that it is cheap, more than 3 times cheaper than that made in India. A set of machinery purchased for 900,000 yuan, the same model of machinery in India, is not as strong and durable as the other one, and the cost is about 2.7 million yuan. This is why the old housekeeper is so worried, even though he knows that opening a concrete factory and asbestos tile factory is a sure win business. The cost is too high, the production efficiency is low, and the market in Sinja town is too small. You can produce products, but if you can't sell them and make money, isn't that a loss? How much money can be lost like this? Within 35 years, the entire Singh family's wealth accumulated for hundreds of years can be squandered, and then Belsing can only live on the streets. Chapter 28. Master, just do it. I was so anxious, but Master Belsina was sitting on the sofa, smiling and eating chocolate cake. He seemed to have no pressure at all. At this time, he was very smart, but the old butler Jamil wanted to slap himself. Seeing Master Singh so relaxed, he knew that he must have known the problem and found a solution. Why was he so anxious? So he figured it out. After that, the old butler seemed to have regained his composure in an instant, sitting there with a smile and drinking tea without the nervous look just now. This made Belsina confused for a moment. He carefully observed the old butler's appearance, and then Belsina knew the problem, and said with a smile, "It is said that old people become wise, Butler Jamil. You have become wise. You look like you know what I'm going to say next, right? I admire you. You are really amazing." Seeing Master Belsina giving him a thumbs up, the old butler smiled and said, "It's not that I have become wise, but I know your character very well. I know that you are a typical person who plans before acting, and you don't consider everything completely and clearly. You will not speak out until you have come up with solutions to all the problems. You sit here and eat cake so calmly. I know that you must have come up with a solution. A complete plan has been formed in your mind, so why should I be in such a hurry? Ha 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 ha. Cunning. The old thing is really too cunning." Fortunately, the old butler is loyal. After all, his subordinates can see clearly what he is thinking. It is equivalent to an emperor letting his ministers see the weaknesses in his character and take advantage of them. How terrible it is to have subordinates who can see through his heart and thoughts. Since the old butler has guessed it, he has nothing to hide and said with a smile, "Great, yes, I have thought it through, and I have ordered machinery from the manufacturer. The price of a complete set of cement production equipment is 900,000, and the price of a complete set of cement asbestos tile production equipment is 450,000. And both sets of machinery are imported from China. They are durable and cheap, so the old housekeeper, prepare your passport. I will go on a business trip to China in 2 days, buy these 2 sets of equipment, and then transport them to Jamnagar port by sea, and then to Udaipur by rail. As for how to get back to Sinja town, you are more familiar with it than I am." The old housekeeper's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he almost jumped up from the sofa with joy, shouting in surprise, 900,000 and 450,000 rupees? That's really cheap, haha. Seeing the old housekeeper dancing with joy, Belsing was speechless. You old man didn't take advantage like this. Do you think the Indian currency is the US dollar? It's rupees. I'll give it to you for free. Seeing the old housekeeper so happy, Belsing patted his head helplessly and shouted, "My old butler, why are you so happy? It's RMB, not rupees. If it's really rupees, then can we still use these machines? Aren't they just a pile of scrap metal? Really, why are you so happy?" The old butler, who was dancing with joy and thinking that he had gotten a great bargain, was like a goose with its neck pinched, blushing and thick neck, unable to speak after hearing this. Then he sat on the sofa very disappointedly and smiled bitterly. Yes, there is no such cheap thing in the world. But the equipment of the 2 factories added up to a total of 1.15 million RMB, which is not much cheaper than the local ones. And it is much more durable, which is more or less a bargain for his side. The old butler figured this out and then smiled proudly. Seeing the old butler like this, Belsina could only smile bitterly. At this time, Jamal, who had been watching the two people talking on the side without saying a word, raised a key question. Master, Grandpa, you only need to pay for the purchase of machinery, but we haven't settled the limestone mine in Sinja yet. Isn't it too early to start ordering machinery before we have settled the land for the factory? If there is a problem with the factory and the mine, even if the machinery is bought back, it will be scrap metal, and our family can't afford such a big loss. Oh, it's incredible. A young man is teachable. Little Jamal is only a teenager and has such great foresight and vision, which is worth cultivating. If he is well trained to be a perfect candidate for a left-hand man, and his subordinates have such insight, of course, he should encourage him well. He personally poured a cup of black tea for little Jamal and smiled as the little guy thanked him profusely. Not bad, not bad, quite good. You have foresight and know how to think about problems. Until you find the key to the problem, you have unlimited potential. I'm relieved to have you take over the family. His own master praised him a lot, and when he saw his grandfather's admiring eyes, little Jamal felt very embarrassed, smiled shyly, and asked again. Master, how should we solve these problems? You also know that the government's efficiency is really not very good. It is still a question whether these lands and mines can be settled after the Chinese machinery travels across the ocean to Sinja town. Like you, it seems a little too anxious. I think we should slow down, settle the factory and mines first, and then go to China to buy machinery. This is safer. Belsina and the old butler Jamal looked at each other and laughed, confusing the little guy. At this time, the old butler Jamal smiled and relieved the little guy's troubles. Little Jamal, you are very smart, but you still don't understand the true meaning of life. It's true that the Indian government is a typical example of inefficiency, but there is one secret that is not open to the public, that is, corruption is rampant. Is there anything that money can't solve? As long as you bribe enough money and let those officials eat and drink enough, the efficiency will be doubled. What else can't be done? The wise words. The little guy was not hit by the perfect solution, and he was so excited that he ate the chocolate cake in front of him in 2 or 3 bites. Then he smiled and looked at his grandfather and 14-year-old Master Belsina, who were sitting on the sofa and talking freely, discussing which stall they were responsible for. After more than an hour of detailed explanation by Master Belsina, the grandfather and grandson looked at each other and saw the raging fire in each other's eyes. Unexpectedly, Master Belsina planned so carefully that even the funds were ready. The funds reserved by his family could fully cope with the establishment of the 2 factories at present. In addition, there was the family's land as a foundation, and £100,000 and $100,000 as a backing, so it would not be a complete failure or a setback. If everything was planned very carefully, what else could be said? Just do it. Who would have a grudge against money? If the Singh family really rose, then Jamal and his grandson, as the stewards of the Singh family, would certainly rise with the tide. The problem of face is not a small matter in any country. The bold ones will die of overeating, and the timid ones will die of starvation. Chapter 29, Fund Flow. Next, Belsina discussed the content and details of various jobs with the 2 people carefully. In addition, he also introduced the customs and practices of China, the skills of doing things, etc. to the old housekeeper Jamal. In addition to going to China to buy 2 building materials production equipment, Belsina also made some special arrangements. In a while, he and Lina will definitely live together in their own house, that is, the old castle. It is too dilapidated. His father-in-law has hinted that he should renovate the house several times, and he can't let his little daughter suffer a little grievance in her husband's family. But the price of decoration materials in India is ridiculously high, and the quality is not very good. So this time, when the old housekeeper went to China, in addition to buying machinery, he also bought back all kinds of decoration materials for decorating the castle. In addition, a small hydropower generation system must be purchased. The diesel generator has been used for a long time, and the power is unstable, and the cost of diesel is high. It is not realistic to supply electricity in the Laga Valley 24 hours a day. The cleanest and most sustainable energy is water and wind. As for wind power, Don't even think about it, but there is a river with abundant water in the valley. We can use small hydroelectric generators to supply electricity to the entire Laja Valley. Then we can use electric lights and telephones, which are the symbols of human civilization. The discussion lasted until the second half of the night. Belsinger could not stand it anymore, so he ended the meeting and went back to his room to sleep. The next day, he slept until more than 10 o'clock. When he got up, he was still yawning. After a difficult breakfast, Belsinger took his little follower, Little Jamal, came to the central street of the temple and started to wander around. Opposite the temple was the government office building, which was also at the most prosperous intersection. There were several restaurants nearby that were open for business, but it was not time for dinner and there were no customers. He could not find out some useful information. He could only come to the lobby of the government office building to check the names of officials at all levels of the Sinja government and the scope of business they were responsible for. Find the target of his bribery. Of course, the bribery was the biggest, so of course he had to start with the mayor. At this time, the old housekeeper Jamal, with two people riding bicycles and holding several black leather bags, was running towards the Laja Valley. Around his neck was still the key to the underground vault that Belsinger had given to the old housekeeper. At 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when he was having lunch, Belsinger finally found an opportunity and sat down in a restaurant opposite the government building. He took out a tip of thousands of rupees and carefully asked the restaurant staff about the various privacy of government officials. It was also good for him to find the other party's weakness. After all, it was a perfect way to get along with the other party. It would be strange if people liked the golden key and sent gems to get things done. No one who could open a restaurant opposite the town government and serve as a waiter in this restaurant was an idiot. Under the attack of the tip, of course, he knew everything and said everything, revealing all the gossip he knew. For example, what kind of sports did the mayor like? How many lovers and wives did he have, and where did they live? How many children were there in the family, etc. The most important information was that the mayor was of the same caste as himself. That is, there was no barrier to communication with the Kshatriya. There was no barrier to making friends. In addition, the mayor had a special hobby, that is, he liked to wear jewelry, and he wore 4 rings on the 10 fingers of his hands. The style and taste of the rings are changed every few days, which is in line with some living habits in India. The other party likes to wear rings, and his family has accumulated hundreds of gemstone rings over the past 100 years, each of which is top notch. Not only are the shapes beautiful and novel, but even the gemstones on them are very big. The other party has this little habit of wearing jewelry. It happened to be used by himself. In addition, the previous company did not believe that it could not be handled. Our lovely fat mayor. For 2 whole days, he spent tens of thousands of rupees and finally got all the first-hand information of all the officials in the town. At this time, old Jamal also brought people to move the cash in the vault and then rented a car in good condition in Sinja town. Along the dusty dirt road, he drove all the way to Udaipa. This time I came to Udaipa to handle bank cash business, which is basically the same as the national conditions of China. If you want to exchange rupees into foreign currency in India, you can only go to the Central Bank of India for exchange. Then I went to the branch of Huaksha Bank in Udaipa to open an account. Putting 2 million Chinese in this account makes it easier to buy machinery and various equipment in China. Originally, Belsinger thought that the exchange rate between rupees and Chinese currency was 10:1. But when exchanging rupees, he found out that it was 13:1. The number of rupees needed to exchange 2 million Chinese lands reached 26 million rupees. His property shrank by 0.3 percentage points at once, but he had to use Chinese currency to trade with Chinese people, and there was no way to avoid the loss of shrinkage. Then he applied for a passport for the old butler Jamal in Udaipa and hired a Chinese translator in the Udaipa talent market. He took a plane with 2 sturdy male servants to Guangzhou, China. After sending the old butler away, Belsinger returned to Sinja town after a big purchase in Udaipa. It was already the weekend, and he brought Lina and little Jamal to the temple to visit the Brahmin elder who had recited the sutra for him for 3 days and 3 nights last time. And he donated 10,000 rupees. Belsinger was generous and a famous landowner, and the two sides chatted very happily. Some sacrifices in the temple were also very hot. Dealing with these Brahmins was very useful for his next plan. Then in the afternoon, he brought the valuable gifts bought in Udaipa to the rich area on the other side of the temple and found the home of the mayor of Siga town. He personally visited the fat mayor Katamala, who weighed 200 kilograms. Since both parties were of the Kshatriya caste, they learned about each other's family history. Unexpectedly, the ancestors of the two people were actually in-laws of the same family, but after hundreds of years, they were a bit far away, so they didn't know each other. After all, the Singh family, where Bel Singh was located, was just a small royal family member with royal blood in the small kingdom that existed decades ago. In this way, the two people chatted more happily. After all, Bel Singh, who started to run the family business at the age of 10, was also a household name in the entire town of Sinjar. In addition, the family had money and land, and such friends could help him develop in his official career. Both parties got what they needed, and of course they chatted very happily. Moreover, the fat mayor was very enthusiastic and invited Belsina to stay for dinner. The two sides could be regarded as a preliminary social success. After dinner, Belsina said goodbye and agreed to meet again 3 days later. He played badminton in the badminton hall of the only middle school in the town. This school was also the school where Belsina and Lina went to school. It could be regarded as a revisit to the hometown. Chapter 30, The Greedy Fat Mayor. Is it realistic to play badminton with a fat man weighing more than 200 kilograms? The other party just found a place where no one was around to negotiate with me. It seems that the gem ring or cash I bribed the other party can no longer satisfy the fat appetite of the other party. It seems that I have to be more careful because the other party is a difficult person. But then again, since the other party is so greedy, if you satisfy his appetite, he will desperately protect the Singh family's business. With this fat mayor in Sinjar town, my cement factory or asbestos tile factory will not encounter any trouble. Even if the other party resigns, the relationship is still there. This umbrella can at least support the entire Singh family business in Sinjar town for 10 years. So I should be prepared for this badminton of negotiation nature. 3 days later at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the empty badminton hall, both parties gathered together with their wives and servants. Men had men's topics, women had women's topics. The servants they brought prepared various foods and drinks or badminton tools for their masters. Anyway, they served everyone and didn't say a word like a deaf person. After both sides were ready, they put on sportswear, that is, vests, shorts and sneakers, and came to the center of the court with badminton rackets. They played while whispering about their secrets. Seeing that there was no one around, the amiable fat mayor finally showed his foxtail. While playing casually, he said to Belsina, "Come on, little guy, you have found a connection here. What you want must be big. Tell me what you want. Let's see if I can do it." Belsina said with a smile while playing badminton, "Nothing, just want to rent a mine in the town to burn cement. Then buy a piece of land in the town to build a factory and do some building materials business. I hope the mayor can help a lot." The two played very slowly, and they could almost finish the whole game at the speed of walking. It was just that this fat mayor did not expect the 14-year-old Belsina to be so straightforward. He didn't say anything polite when he came up, and he directly stated his request. This little guy actually agreed to play badminton with him. He knew that he had a big appetite. Since he dared to come, he would definitely meet his requirements. A 14-year-old child is not simple. It's a pleasure to do things with such a straightforward person, so there is no need to be shy. I will state my conditions and see if this 14-year-old kid can meet them. If the two sides reach this deal, my assets will definitely double. With the money, I can bribe my superiors and move up in my lifetime. Of course, I must also hold up this umbrella of protection, otherwise my wallet will shrink. How can I climb up? So the fat man made a light smash and then said with a smile, "Sinjar town, although surrounded by mountains, has inconvenient transportation and is very poor. But you have to admit that there are many treasures buried underground, and limestone mines are everywhere. It is very easy to contract mines. As long as you have strong funds, you can do it. You need to find me. I know that it is easy to contract mines, and I don't need you to say it, but I haven't found my own factory yet. My requirements for the factory are quite high. Of course, the closer to the town center, the better, but the land price in the prosperous stage of the political center is really ridiculous. In addition, without the approval of the town government, who has the ability to buy land in the political center to build a factory, even if you can't build a factory in the town center, it should be as close to the town center as possible, and then buy a house or land on the cross commercial street in the town to build your own building materials mall. So many things, and so many requirements can't get around you, the mayor. Why are you pretending to be a big garlic with me? I have come into contact with many shameless politicians who want to be a whore and want to build a memorial archway. Seeing that the other party was retreating to advance, the best way was to go straight to the point. There was no time to pretend with this fat man. In addition, the other party was too bad at playing badminton. Belsina was in no mood to play with this fat man here. So he went straight to the point and said with a smile, to contract the mine, the years and area I need are not small, at least 50 years, and the area of the mine should be at least 500 square kilometers. The cement manufacturing plant should have water and electricity in the mine, but the asbestos tile manufacturing plant needs to be as central as possible for a while. In addition, my building materials store should also be opened in the most prosperous area of the cross street. If I don't come to you, who will solve these problems for me? Just water and electricity can stump me. Oh, this 14-year-old kid has a big appetite. He opened his mouth and asked for 500 square kilometers, which is almost 150,000 acres, occupying more than 3% of the area of the entire Sinja town. If the cement manufacturing plant is really built, it will be the well-deserved leading enterprise in the entire Sinja town. It is also the largest cement production company in the southern region of Rajasthan. You have a big appetite, but I like it, the fat mayor said with a smile as he hit the badminton in front of him. To contract such a large area of mines, the cost of that year alone is tens of millions of rupees. Do you have the funds? You should know that if you contract for 50 years, you have to pay the contract fee for at least 10 years in advance, which is hundreds of millions of rupees. Bel Singh hit the badminton hard and said with a smile, this is why I found you. I don't have so many advance payments for minerals, so I need policy support. Can you give me 5 years to slow down and then hand in the contract fee? After all, the building materials business is not so easy to do here. The drama is here. This is the critical moment for both parties to negotiate conditions. Whether they can keep their wallets depends on this hammer deal. So the fat mayor smiled and shook his hands, and both parties sat on the chairs beside the badminton court and wiped their sweat. The fat mayor only stretched out 2 fingers and waved them in front of his eyes. Belsina cursed in his heart. Damn fat man, you are not afraid of being stuffed to death. You actually asked me for 20% of the shares. Did you pay a penny? I paid all the money for such a large investment. You actually want to share 20% of the dry shares. How can I tolerate it? If you succeed, how much will I lose? He cursed madly in his heart, but on the surface, Belsina was still smiling. He just stretched out one of his fingers and waved it in front of the other party. The meaning was obvious, that it was only 10%, whether you wanted it or not, and the other party's request was cut in half at once. But there is a saying that goes, if you ask for a high price, you have to pay it back on the spot. The fat mayor also had no confidence in taking 20% of the profits of such a large cement manufacturing company. He was very satisfied with 10%. The annual income exceeded tens of millions of rupees. This small treasury was really delicious, but politicians were shameless, and greedy politicians were the most shameless. Although he was satisfied, he still had to talk about some conditions that were favorable to him in order to satisfy the appetite of a typical politician. If it was so easy for this little guy to achieve his goal, he would definitely cause a big fuss. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 31. Hey, happy cooperation. This little guy is only 14 years old. He has such great courage at such a young age. He has a solid foundation when he grows up. I can't control the future of this little guy at all. Can't I hold him down? If such a big god of wealth runs away, what guarantee will there be for my career? But if I suppress him too much, this little guy's in adolescence, which is the time of rebellion. If he holds a grudge, I will retaliate against him in the future. So the scale must be extremely precise. 10% of the shares of the cement manufacturing company are already very satisfactory, but there is also a cement asbestos tile manufacturing plant. This is also a delicious cake. How can I miss it? So the fat mayor said with a smile. Okay, I own 10% of the concrete company and 20% of the asbestos tile manufacturing plant. In addition, I'm investing 30 million rupees to complete our plan. What do you think? This money is burning, and besides, my master Belsing likes to eat alone and doesn't like others to give opinions and withdraw his elbows. I like to have a one-man show. If it weren't for the power you hold, I would give you 10% of the shares of the cement manufacturing company. Asbestos tiles actually want 20% of the shares. Why don't you rob them? So Master Belsina put on a stern face, stretched out another finger and said seriously, although the Singh family is in decline, they are still rich in money to run 2 factories. What I need is the policy, the contract land and the connection of water and electricity. Now 10% of the 2 factories are yours, but you can only get the dividends of the previous year on January 1st of each year, and you can't use anything else. Oh, the little guy has a bad temper, but this is related to his own interests, and no one will give in. If you want 10% of the dry shares of the asbestos tile factory and cement factory, it is already good to get dividends on January 1st every year. Try it again. You may get this little guy away, then the loss will be great. How can you pursue a career without money? It seems that this little guy doesn't like others to express different opinions, and likes to be independent and a person who can do big things. The 2 sides can become allies, which is also a great help to him. Besides, if the 2 factories are really put into production, it will also be his political achievement and an accelerator for his promotion. So the fat man laughed and prepared to shake hands with Belsing. But Singh saw that the other party had agreed to his conditions, but he had not yet made any requests. How could he cooperate happily so quickly? So he said with a smile, of course, no one would dislike having too much liquid funds in hand, so I have another request, a loan of 30 million rupees from the Indian bank. I'll leave this loan to the mayor. The fat mayor smiled and stretched out a hand to shake hands with Belsing, saying with a smile, no problem, Master Singh. It happens that all the heads of various departments in the town are here. Tomorrow I will propose a motion to contract the mine. I will give you a reply within 3 days at the earliest. The contract right of 500 square kilometers for 50 years. The contract fee will be postponed for 5 years, and I will help you get the bank loan of 30 million rupees within 1 month. As for the water and electricity in the mine, it will not be completed without 2 months. The land of the cement asbestos tile manufacturing plant in the suburbs of the town and the land of the building materials store on the cross commercial street in the center of the town will also be solved for you within 1 month. All you have to do is buy machinery and recruit workers to start production as soon as possible. Strive to achieve the goal of profitability of our 2 factories within half a year. It's great. Since I paid 10% of the dry shares of each factory, but the money is worth it. It's really great. The Indian government is inefficient. If there is no urging from the mayor, it will take at least half a year to get the contract for the mine, and at least 8 months to get water and electricity. The land of the factory and building materials store in the suburbs was also wanted. He had to be dealt with by the town's supervisors at all levels in turn. In order to get these bribes, he had no working capital to invest in the factory. Although this fat mayor was very shameless and greedy, he was the top leader. Who dared not to listen to the top leader's words? Was the money worth spending? The 2 sides finally came together to complete this shameless deal. But 3 years later, Belsing's 2 factories were booming. The annual profit was several hundred million rupees, which made the 2 people rich and earned a good reputation, almost dominating all the cement business in the southeast of Rajasthan. After the two sides reached a commitment to cooperation, in order to give his little ally a reassurance, the fat mayor smiled and handed Belsing a bottle of water, and then said, "Master Singh, let me tell you something. In the election 3 years later, I will still be the mayor of Sinjar. Even if I leave office, my direct line will remain, so I can assure you that within 10 years, no one will dare to touch a hair on your head. No one dares to take the 2 factories of the Singh family. I will protect you. It's not too much to take 10% of the shares of your 2 factories, right? So, little guy, we are mutually beneficial. Don't be angry anymore, ha ha ha." Oh, the other party knew that he was dissatisfied in his heart. It seemed that he needed to exercise his cunning. Otherwise, dealing with these old foxes would only make him suffer, so he smiled and shook his head and said, "Why should I be angry? Just as you said, if it weren't for you, if these 2 factories wanted to produce the first bag of cement and 1 piece of asbestos tile, the fastest speed would be August next year. Who can bear not seeing the benefits for more than a year? I wonder why you officials are so inefficient." At this time, the mayor laughed and stood up, put the towel in his hand on the stool, and waved to Belsina to the center of the field. "Let's play another round. Why is it so low? It's because you are waiting for the sponsor to come. If you don't have money, you can only wait slowly. If you have money to feed all the heads of relevant departments, then the work efficiency will be like a rocket. It depends on how much money you have. You should know this problem. Otherwise, why would you come to me? Come on, play another round. I don't believe I can't beat you." Although Belsina knew it in his heart, he couldn't help but smile bitterly when he stood up. It is indeed an open secret that corruption is rampant in India. Fortunately, he was rich and had a high status. Otherwise the mayor would not have negotiated with a 14-year-old child like him. The privileged class is comfortable. With money, you have everything. In addition, India is a paradise for men. His happy life in the future is waving at him. It's so beautiful. Then a fat man and a little fat man who relaxed fought on the badminton court, and the little fat man won in the end. Then the 2 families went to the town's top restaurant to have a good meal. Of course, it was Belsina who paid the bill in the end, but it was just a small amount of money. Belsina sent the mayor and his wife home, and then he took Lena back to his house. He fell asleep on the bed. Lena, who was beside him, looked at Belsina, who was flushed and tossing on the bed and drinking too much, with a distressed look on his face. Chapter 32. Singh drew a circle on the map. 3 days later, the fat mayor received the news. He introduced the success of the 2 people to Belsina with a laugh on the phone. "Congratulations, Mr. Singh. The government has already settled all the matters concerning the contract for the mine. Come over this afternoon and choose a piece of land in our Sinjar town mineral concentration area. The development of 500 square kilometers of mineral resources will be handed over to you." Haha, haha. Look at the work efficiency, faster than a rocket. It was done in 3 days. All the government documents and approvals. He will soon own 500 square kilometers of limestone mineral resources. Such a large area will take hundreds of years to develop. The Singer family is expected to rise. Now Belsina is most concerned about how many years it will take to develop the limestone mining area, so he asked quickly, "I'm not worried about the acquisition of the mineral resources, but I'm worried about how many years it will take to develop the mineral resources." The term of 50 years has not been agreed. At this time, the fat mayor was sitting in his office chair, pressing the high-end office chair and making it creak. It was about to fall apart, but it still stood, firm to bear all the weight of the fat mayor. At this time, the fat man said with a smile, "I won't tell you. You should have told me last time, when we were drinking. There is a collection of Chinese Magnate. If you don't give me 2 bottles, you will never know." Haha. Although he was gritting his teeth in anger, this was the other party's conspiracy, and he had to get into it. He could only say angrily, Okay, as long as you satisfy me, I don't mind giving you 2 more bottles. Tell me quickly, so that I can be happy. Is the contract period 50 years? At this time, the fat mayor wanted to raise a few fingers, but suddenly realized that Belsina was not in front of him. He put down his hand very embarrassedly and said to the person on the phone with a smile, "Little guy, I really admire your courage. Such a large mining contract has caused a sensation among all the senior officials in Sinjar. If this mining contract is built, it will be the largest industrial enterprise in Sinjar. It is also the largest taxpayer. Who wouldn't be happy? So everyone was happy and felt that 50 years was too little. The approval gave you 100 years of development time. And it is stated in the contract that in addition to the development of limestone, all minerals within the scope of your contracted minerals can be developed. That is to say, under the 500 square kilometers of land you contracted. Even if gold mines appear, they are allowed to be developed and operated. How about it? Is it worth the price of 4 bottles of Magnate? Hearing this, Belsina was already dumbfounded. These officials waved their pens and granted him 100 years. All the mineral development rights and operating rights of the 500 square kilometers of mining area are like a giant hamburger falling from the sky. Let alone 4 bottles of Magnate. Even 4,000 bottles are worth it. Dad, are you really my real dad? So awesome. Belsina was so excited that he did a backflip from the sofa and then fell backwards on the thick Persian carpet. He was grimacing in pain, but he still laughed on the phone. Dear Uncle Kata, when will we sign the contract? Don't let the cooked duck fly away, otherwise it will be you and me who will suffer the loss. Hurry up and sign the contract. I will go to sign the contract in the afternoon. In the future, we will work together as a team of young and old, and wait to make money. Ha 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 ha. Not to mention Belsina's excitement. Even the fat mare in his 40s was trembling with excitement, but he still had some official bearing. He didn't get too excited, otherwise it would be easy to burst a blood vessel. Who can bear a stroke before getting the money? So the mayor said with a smile, you are too impatient. I asked you to come to the town this afternoon to select the location of the mine. You will not be allowed to sign the contract until next week. Why are you in such a hurry? I have good news for you. I have got you a loan of 30 million rupees from the bank. The bank will give you a loan at the same time as signing the contract. You should use the money well. The two sides chatted for a few more words, hung up the phone, and then Belsina controlled his emotions well. He waited until 2 o'clock in the afternoon before coming to the town government not far away. In the town government meeting room, he met all the leaders of the Sinjar town government. Although everyone was surprised and amazed to see Belsina, who was so young, Belsina knew that his family business was in the town when he was 10 years old, which was already a little celebrity. At the age of 14, contracting a mine to develop cement was not a shocking performance. So everyone just congratulated each other, got to know each other, and then, under the witness of these leaders, drew a circle on the map of a large blank area between the Laga Valley and Sinjar town. A full 500 square kilometers of land was contracted for 100 years. Due to the many problems of the Indian government, there are so many types of mineral deposits within the jurisdiction of Sinjar town, which has a population of more than 100,000. No one knows how much the reserves are and where they are. It's just that limestone is too popular. Anyone with a little knowledge knows what this stone is used for. So we know that there is a large area of limestone reserves in this circle. As for other mineral reserves, how much gold, silver, copper and iron there are, we don't know, so Master Belsing can only explore it himself. A week later, at the same place, with the same crowd of spectators, the fat mayor and Master Singh signed the contract. There are 4 contracts in total. The town government deposited 1, Belsing held 1, and another was handed over to the Indian Ministry of Mines. Another was handed over to the Supreme Court. Since the signing, all 500 square kilometers of land belong to Belsing. The annual rent is 10 million rupees, equivalent to more than 900,000 yuan, and the rent is increased by 5% every year. That is to say, the price will increase every year, but some preferential conditions are also given, such as 5 years of encouraging free development, which means that there will be no charge in the first 5 years. In the 6th year, a development fee of 10 million rupees will be charged. Such a good preferential condition is also exchanged for other conditions, that is, a corporate income tax of up to 20%. There are good and bad, bitter and sweet. As long as you declare income tax honestly and pay the development fees of minerals on time, even the Indian Congress can't do anything to Singh. After signing the contract, he took the mineral contract to the bank, to borrow 30 million rupees, and the next day it was transferred to Bel Singh's account. After getting this bank loan, Bel Singh's dry wallet finally swelled up. Originally, Bel Singh's mineral contract could be used as collateral to borrow 300 million rupees, or even 3 billion rupees. Why only borrow 30 million? Because 30 million is enough, too much, and you don't pay interest. Since the day he drew the circle on the map, Bel Singh had become acquainted with all the leaders in the town, so he was very busy afterwards. He was busy building good relationships with these leaders, giving gifts and money to those who wanted them, which made the work efficiency of the entire Singha town government rise rapidly. In mid-December 2000, Bel Singh took over the town of Singha. Near the edge of the mine he contracted and won more than 100 acres of land for factory construction. Chapter 33, Nail Household. It was a sunny day with cool temperature. Master Bel Singh sat on a soft and comfortable sedan chair. He arrived at the DC area comfortably with a sun umbrella, but Master Bel Singh, who was sitting on the sedan chair, had a livid face and was still mumbling curses. You could hear it if you listened carefully. Damn it, I used to think those stubborn households I saw in China were crazy. I didn't expect that the stubborn households in India would rather live than live. How come I met this group of stubborn guys? Little Jamal, who was carrying a bulging money bag on the side of the sedan chair, couldn't help laughing as he walked. There were several three-wheeled motorcycles following behind. On the car sat the police from the Singha Police Department in neat uniforms. Each of them held a wooden stick more than 1 meter long in his hand and rushed towards the Pula village, which refused to demolish and move. 2 days ago, the Singha town government had allocated 100 acres of land in the DC area to Master Bel Singh for permanent use. The price to be paid was 10 million rupees for the purchase of the land. When he got the land certificate for the land, Bel Singh was so happy that he got drunk. He planned to come to his own 100 acres of land the next day to plan and develop it. But he didn't expect that there was a village between the 100 acres of land. The castes in this village were very mixed, with more than 1,000 people from Vaishya to Dalit. Although the people in this village were very mixed, there were 7 or 8 Vaishyas of high caste, so they were qualified to negotiate with the Kshatriya master. You said you would talk, but you didn't expect that these 7 or 8 Vaishyas would form a small group and lead these villagers to rebel. Tell Bel Singh clearly that if each household has less than 300,000 rupees, don't even think about demolition. This made Bel Singh angry. Don't you look at what the houses in the village look like? They actually asked for 300,000 rupees for demolition. Are sheds built with a few pieces of iron and wooden boards worth 300,000 rupees? Even the houses where the high caste Vaishyas live are adobe houses made of stone and mud. The 100,000 rupees offered by Master Bel Singh is already a great favor, but these people are still not satisfied and plan to bleed Master Bel Singh. Let them have the capital to settle down near Singha town and have the funds to do some small business. This is an ale household, and it is an ale household with a relatively high status. Master Bel Singh originally said that he would use the plan of defeating each one and eradicate this nail household village in one fell swoop. But I didn't expect that these 7 or 8 high caste Vaishyas. What was wrong with their minds? They actually gave up the demolition payment of 350,000 rupees. They refused to agree to their conditions and planned to advance and retreat with the Shudras and even Dalits in the village. Are these people crazy? If you don't take the money, why do you care about those untouchables? There are more than 270 households in a village of more than 1,000 people, and each family received 300,000 rupees for demolition. How much money is this? Master, can I afford it? Since you are so disrespectful, don't blame me for being ruthless and ungrateful. Didn't you refuse to accept the conditions? Okay, I will do a forced demolition. I don't believe that you, the third level Vaishyas, can be stronger than me, Kshatriya. In Singha town, Magnate acts as a protective umbrella. I'm a local tyrant. If you come to me, I think you will die. So after failing to reach an agreement on the demolition compensation, Master Bel Singh returned to the town and communicated with Magnate first. Then he found the police chief, paid a little price, and pulled in more than 15 strong policemen. Today, he planned to do a forced demolition. I want to see who dares to attack the police and play rogue with the police. After a few dozen minutes, he arrived at Pula village. Before entering the village, all kinds of local dogs in the village rushed out with barking and calling friends. But when they saw the police holding sticks, these local dogs were very smart. They ran back to the village with their tails between their legs after a loud bark. The barking of the dogs suddenly made the whole Pula village boil. When I went out, I saw 15 or 16 strong policemen lined up in a row, with Grandpa Belsing sitting in front of them in a bamboo sedan. Seeing this, even the uneducated Shudras knew the seriousness of the problem. They shouted and drove the women and children into the house. Then the Shudra men and villagers gathered in front of 7 or 8 Vaishya masters. Belsing made such a big noise that the leading stubborn households had already been alarmed. The male owner brought the men in his family, and more than 300 Shudra villagers followed behind him. They came to the edge of the village with a fierce momentum and confronted the team led by Master Belsing, who was enjoying the cool under the shade of the tree. Master Belsing, who had sharp eyes, saw through the gaps between the people that there was an independent area in the village. An independent area was full of simple tents made of picked up wooden boards, garbage and plastic cloth. Some ragged clothes were so black that they could not be seen. Dalits often looked at this side from the back of the house and observed the development of the situation. Even if they were beaten to death, these Dalits dared not appear in front of the high-caste masters. They could only watch carefully from behind and wait for their own fate. No matter which side wins, it has nothing to do with these untouchables. Even if compensation for demolition is issued, these Dalits will not get a penny. The two sides confronted each other under a centuries-old tree. The village chief of Pula village, the first name is Mone Gupta, a Vaishya caste with a very ancient surname. He is well dressed and more or less a rich man. He opened a noodle shop in the town and has some knowledge. He is also the largest male household here and the negotiating representative of Pula village. According to such a large battle, ordinary Shudra villagers are already scared and dare not speak. The other high caste Vaishyas will advance and retreat together with him as their leader. Originally, today was a tough battle. The village chief must not lose, otherwise he will lose his home and everything. Seeing the confident Master Belsing sitting on a bamboo chair, Magnate, the village chief frowned and walked forward a few steps. He bowed and saluted, then said coldly, "Master Singh, what's the point of having so many policemen here now? Do you want to demolish the house by force if you don't agree to the conditions we put forward? This is a republic, not a feudal kingdom. You people have privileges. If you really dare to demolish the house by force, we will sue you." Belsing was too lazy to talk nonsense with these unruly people. Not to mention demolishing these small-scale Vaishyas. Even if they killed a few of them, what can they do to me? I'm the local emperor in this town. All the leaders in the town are well fed. In addition, the 2 factories I have prepared are the leading enterprises in the town in terms of scale and capital. The entire Sinja town is still waiting for me to pay taxes, and I'm afraid that you unruly people will sue me. If you compare your financial strength with me, you are dead. So Belsing didn't even say a word, but just waved his hand. The henchman Jamal beside him pulled his neck and slapped the black leather bag in front of him and shouted, "Master Belsing has no time to waste with you unruly people. Each household will be given 150,000 rupees as compensation for demolition. Then you have to demolish all your buildings within 3 days and do what you need to do. Don't delay the construction of Master Belsing's factory. Can you afford it?" Chapter 34. Beat me, burn me, smash me. It's okay. Master Belsing is not a black-hearted businessman. He raised the compensation for demolition to 150,000 rupees. However, there is a big gap between 150,000 rupees and the other party's psychological bottom line, although there is a group of unreasonable policemen on the other side. But these Vaishya masters are used to being the kings and tyrants in Pula village, and they are not afraid of these policemen with wooden sticks. Others are not afraid, but village chief Magnate is well informed. He has been to those big cities and seen how the police in big cities treat the people. Except for the 2 high-caste people of Brahmin and Kshatriya, no matter who you are, you will be beaten with a stick. You will cry and scream for your parents, and your whole body will be bruised. Even if you go to the police station, to sue these policemen for violent law enforcement. It is still these people who complain that they are put in the detention center in the end. In India, the police are licensed bandits and hooligans. They are so fierce and vicious when they oppress the people. Seeing the coldness in the eyes of these policemen with wooden sticks, Village Chief Magnate knew that it was impossible to settle the matter peacefully today. Although the demolition compensation of 150,000 rupees given by Master Belsing was far from the psychological price of the villagers, the gap in strength between the two sides was there. The third-class castes could not resist the top-class Kshatriyas. Even if they were beaten to death, who could redress their grievances? So the village chief Magnate was so anxious that his head was sweating. He bowed to Master Belsing and then stuttered. "Excuse me, Master Singh, can you give me a few minutes? I will discuss it with the villagers. After all, it is impossible for me to make the decision alone in such a big village. We will reply to you as soon as possible." Belsing did not have that much patience. He had a stern face and only stretched out a finger, which meant to give you 1 minute. But the follower Jamal next to him misunderstood the meaning and spoke. "I'll give you 10 minutes. You must give an answer within 10 minutes. Whether you continue to resist the law or move to get the money, you must give an explanation. Otherwise, you will suffer." Belsing almost fell off the flagpole, but soon recovered and said nothing. 10 minutes is 10 minutes. Anyway, the weather is good today, and it's nice to see the surrounding scenery. If his own people make mistakes, of course he, the master, will bear the responsibility. Hearing Belsing give 10 minutes, Village Chief Magnate quickly called the hundreds of people behind him to return to the square in the center of the village. Everyone sat on the ground. At this time, Village Chief Magnate, who was sitting in the middle of the crowd, sighed and said to everyone, "Everyone has seen that the dozen policemen holding sticks are the thugs hired by Felsina. If they hit them hard, their hands and feet would be broken. We have not yet dealt with the matter. It is already good to get 150,000 rupees. Let's see if we should agree to the conditions proposed by Belsing. Otherwise he will really take action." However, the other Vaishyas have never left Sinja town in their lives and have no education, but they are used to being the kings and hegemons in the village of Pula. They think they are superior to others and look down on everyone. Belsing is a high-caste Kshatriya, higher than us. But we are not vegetarians. You can enter the temple, so can't we? You can wear the holy thread, so can't we? Why should we listen to you? So these young people in the Vaishya caste families, who are the kings and hegemons in the village, and are rampant in the town, are not happy, and stand up and shout loudly. "We just won't move. What can the police do to us? This is our home. If they can't meet our conditions, we won't sell it. We don't believe it. Do these police really dare to kill people? What kind of person is Belsing? Is the Indian court parliament run by their family? That's right, we are not afraid of them. They have wooden sticks. Don't we have weapons? Let's fight them and see who has more people and who is stronger. There are even people who flatter them. These young people don't know the severity of the situation." The village chief Magnate, who is in his 40s or 50s, feels that his head is splitting. Being able to say so many unrealistic things in India means that these young people are still at the level of children. You are talking to these rich and powerful high-caste Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Are you childish? Such ignorant people should be beaten to death. But as a village chief, he can't just watch the young people in the village die. He used his authority as the village chief to scold them. He actually suppressed these young people, but looking at their unconvinced and angry looks, he knew that these young people who knew nothing would do bad things sooner or later. And those Shudras who only listened to orders, and those Dalits who dared not even show their faces, could not be counted on at all. They had the courage to fight against the caste system that had been formed for thousands of years, to fight against the Brahmins and Kshatriyas who had the power of life and death over them. They could become the village chief, and then their words were final in the village. Isn't it the benefit of being in the third-class caste of Vaishya? In the eyes of these Shudras and Dalits, they were the masters, but those Brahmins and Kshatriyas were also the masters in front of them. Magnate could tell who was strong and who was weak, otherwise he would have lived in vain for 40 or 50 years. Several young men suppressed them, and then discussed it, and decided to accept the other party's advice, otherwise there would be real trouble. Then he led all the villagers back to a century-old tree outside the village in 8 minutes. At this time, the village chief Magnate seemed to have aged a dozen years in an instant, and his body was hunched. He bowed to Belsing first, and then said, "Singh sir, I can accept your conditions. After we get the demolition compensation of 150,000 rupees, we will demolish all the buildings within 3 days. And we will make a living on our own. I hope you can fulfill your promise." "We will." "Hey, what are you guys trying to do? Stop it now." Before he finished speaking, he saw several young Vaishyas with wooden sticks and even long-handled machetes rushing out from the center of the village, screaming and rushing out. It was too late to stop them. Seeing that the other party was actually using wooden sticks and machetes to attack him, Belsing had no time to be polite. Let these untouchables remember what they can resist and what they cannot resist. He immediately jumped up from the sedan chair, pointed at the young men who rushed over, and said to the dozen-strong policemen behind him, "See, they dare to resist the law with violence and attack me, a high-caste Kshatriya master. This is rebellion. This is murder. This is a crime. Listen to me, everyone. If you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being rude. You want 150,000 rupees for a thatched house. If you don't want to live, beat me, smash me, and burn me. Take this place and level it. I will take responsibility for anything that happens." These policemen are unscrupulous to begin with, and they are backed by Master Belsing, so they are not afraid of you untouchables. Master Singh said, "Beat me, smash me, and burn me, so why should I be polite?" He rushed out with a stick in his hand that looked like a Shaolin eyebrow high stick. Suddenly, screams rang out. The fight between the two sides was so bloody and violent. Chapter 35. This time I won't spend a penny. At the moment when the other party asked the high-caste Kshatriya to show their weapons, even the Indian High Court could not protect these young men. In India, the caste system is sacred and inviolable. Although India has been independent for some years, every government has made great efforts to eliminate the drawbacks brought by the caste system. But decades have passed. Have you seen it eliminated? Especially in rural areas, the more remote the place, the more obvious the caste system is. Almost all people are imprisoned and live in the circle of their own caste system. Of course, these are for the lower castes. As the top castes, Brahmins and Kshatriyas have no restrictions, so they bully men and women in the countryside unscrupulously, and even kill and set fire. Who dares to control it? Although the other party is a Vaishya caste, he showed a knife and a wooden stick to the high-caste Kshatriya, and rushed over to him, shouting and screaming, wanting to kill him. If I kill these people directly in self-defense, I will not be affected, or punished at all. This is the benefit of the caste system. No one dares to threaten my personal safety. These young men, who had been spoiled since childhood, and had never suffered any hardship, were used to being the kings and tyrants in the village and town, and they thought they were very good at fighting. But compared with these policemen who were formed by veterans, these people were just chickens. They fell to the ground with blood on their heads, after being hit by a stick, and could only wail. Just now, Master Belsing's 3-light policy took effect. These policemen were more ruthless than each other, and their moves were not far from the vital points of these young men. After more than a dozen rounds, all the dozen young men fell to the ground, either holding their bloody heads and wailing or lying on the ground with their hands and feet bent and unconscious. It was just a matter of a few seconds, and all the people present did not react at once. The hundreds of people at the scene were unusually silent. Except for the people lying on the ground and wailing, everyone was dumbfounded when they thought that the other party, Master Belsing, was so cruel. He would kill them if he said he would. How dare they, the slave Shudras, and those Dalits who could not be touched and dared not show up, resist Belsing, the Kshatriya. So they were all stunned for a while, and then with a bang, these men ran back to the village screaming like a girl who was chased and violated. Then they returned home and began to pack up some valuables at home without saying anything, and then dragged their wives and children and the elderly at home to flee everywhere, as if they were avoiding war and fleeing famine. After receiving the instructions of the 3-lights policy of Master Belsing, this group of licensed gangsters became even more unscrupulous in attacking these slaves. The Vaishya families were lucky that no one dared to rob them. They just drove these people out of their homes. But the Shudras and Atli were not so lucky. They were blocked at home, and at best they were beaten up. and at worst they were crippled and dragged out of the house, and all the valuables in the house were robbed, and then these simple thatched houses were burned down. There were even villagers who were locked in the house and burned to death. Shouting, screaming, smoke, and flames enveloped the entire Pula village. It was simply hell on earth. Belsing, who was born in the new society and grew up under the red flag, had never seen such a battle. They were already scared and fell on the chair. The strong male servants who were protecting Belsing and Jamil were very calm. They had seen this kind of thing many times. They had even seen drunken men of higher castes run to the homes of Shudras or Dalits in public and rape their daughters in front of their families. It was nothing new. Would these slaves dare to resist? Even if they had the courage of a tiger, they would not dare to do so, and could only endure it silently. When people are fleeing or running for their lives, they can burst out with endless potential. In less than half an hour, everyone in the village ran away. All the houses were on fire. Although they were more than 100 meters away, the temperature soared significantly. Apart from the bloodstains on the ground and the local dogs, chickens, ducks, and geese running around to escape, there was no living creature in the entire village of more than 1,000 people in Pula. This is good. This is convenient. The demolition compensation of 150,000 rupees is saved, and a village of more than 1,000 people is raised without spending a penny. The village was set on fire and turned into ruins. Everything was completely wiped out. Fortunately, there was no wind today, and the surrounding woods were far away, so it was impossible for a forest fire to form. After seeing that the village was almost burned, Belsing, with a pale face, staggered back to Sinja town with a dozen policemen carrying large and small bags and trophies. Then he asked his current liaison officer and his assistant, Jamal, to go to the police station to explain the incident to the police chief. Then he notified the mayor of Qatar that the matter was over. As for the villagers, who were beaten to death, burned to death, and robbed and turned into beggars, no matter what caste you are, you can only hide in a corner and lick your wounds silently. Even if you sue Belsing in the Supreme Court of New Delhi, you can't do anything to Belsing. In terms of financial resources, social influence, and social status, which one is Belsing's opponent? Therefore, the village of Pula was flattened in the morning. Belsing disappeared from people's sight from then on. Belsing thought that the matter was over, but Belsing underestimated people's curiosity and curiosity. In just 2 hours, the town of Sinja, with a population of more than 100,000, was shocked in an instant. The streets and alleys were talking about the tragic experience of the villagers of Pula. Although everyone sympathized with their experience, no one was willing to stand up for them. Within a day, the 14-year-old Master Belsina completely made a name for himself in the entire town of Sinja. In addition to the rumors that had already spread, the 14-year-old Master Belsina spent a huge amount of money to import equipment from abroad. It seems that it is not groundless to plan to build a building materials factory and manufacture cement and asbestos tiles. Although Master Belsina is only 14 years old, all the things he has done are big-handed, including 500 square kilometers of mineral development rights. The cement manufacturing plant and asbestos tile manufacturing plant with an investment of hundreds of millions of rupees are all blockbuster bombs in the entire remote town of Sinja. Everything made these adults who are dozens of years older stunned. The 14-year-old Master Belsina, who has done so many earth-shaking things, can no longer be judged by common sense. In addition, a village of stubborn households in Pula was razed to the ground this morning and even killed people, burning 2 elderly people to death. A strong middle-aged man killed 2 young men and took 5 lives. If it were an ordinary person, he would have been shot long ago, but Belsina was fine. He still lived a carefree life and strolled around the streets when he had nothing to do. No matter what the purpose of the residents in these towns was, they all saluted respectfully when they saw Master Belsina sitting on a very strange sedan chair made of bamboo. No one dared to cause trouble for this 14-year-old boy. In addition, it was recently rumored that the workers to be recruited by Belsina's 2 building materials factories would all choose residents of Sinja town. Everyone was not only afraid of Master Belsina, but also had a little respect or flattery. Chapter 36, Lantern Festival. After razing the village of Pula, these stubborn households were finally eradicated, and the 100 acres of land could enter the construction state. Of course, the so-called construction is just the simple work of leveling the land and digging the foundation in the early stage. In order to make reasonable use of the 100 acres of land, Belsing took advantage of the favorable conditions of the Sinja government. He came to Udaipa and found a relatively large design company which fully designed the overall layout of the asbestos-style factory and various drawings such as the construction of factory buildings and warehouses. Then, according to the design and planning of the drawings, he returned to Sinja town and spent a lot of money to hire all the large machinery in the town. In addition, more than 100 strong male temporary workers were hired to start the construction of the land for the leveling of the asbestos-tile factory. Sinja town was originally remote, particularly poor and backward. There were not 2 excavators in the town, and there were even fewer bulldozers or large load trucks. Moreover, the price of hiring these mechanical equipment is very expensive, and the daily cost of paying these mechanical owners is more than 1,000 rupees. As for those temporary workers with hoes and shovels, the price is much cheaper. Each person can break these pieces and work like a donkey for 100 rupees a day. It seems that 100 rupees is not much. It can only buy 5 kilograms of rice or 8 kilograms of cornmeal, but it is an average salary in Sinja town, which is still very attractive. After fierce competition, the recruitment scale of 100 people is very happy to have such a job. Of course, you have to serve Master Belsing sincerely. Because there are too few people around him, he had to go back to the Laga Valley once and select a few smart and high school educated villagers from 3 Vaishya caste families. He came to his asbestos-tile factory site as a supervisor. Things were going well, but he didn't expect that the bad would happen. When he returned to Laga village, a Shudra servant who lived with him in Sinja town was rude and told the villagers that he spent 100 rupees to hire outsiders to build his factory. The villagers of Laga were not happy with this. They organized themselves and elected some respected elders or some high-caste villagers from the Vaishya family as representatives. They came to the study room of Singh Castle to negotiate with Master Singh to see if these villagers could go to Sinja town to work for Master Singh during the slack season to earn some extra money, which could be regarded as a subsidy for the family. After all, 100 rupees a day was not a low price. As early as 10 days ago, the villagers had planted the 3rd season of crops, and all the heavy work was basically completed. The rest was just to take care of the farmland, water the farmland, fertilize it, and weed it. These farm work could be done by women, the elderly, and even teenagers. The strong and capable men in the family had nothing to do all day long. They were idle and might as well go to work for Master Belsing. After all, they were all from the same village, and they were all farmers of the Belsing family for generations, so they were more or less their own people. Working for Master Belsing was still very trustworthy, and it didn't matter who they used. It was safer and more reliable to use their own people. So Master Belsing agreed, and a week later, he fired all temporary workers in Sinja town and replaced them with 100 strong villagers from Laga village. With his own people, the work efficiency increased exponentially, and leveling the land and digging the foundation of the factory building could basically be completed within a month. Even the foundation of the wall of the 100-acre manor was dug out, and they were waiting for the cement factory to start production and then build the factory building. There was another thing to be happy about. That was that through the matchmaking of the leaders of the town government, Belsing finally bought 2 shops on the street of Danko, the central cross street. Then they were all demolished, and the warehouses of several shops were indirectly annexed to form a 1,500 square meter vacant land. Then they began to dig the foundation and even dug 2 basements of hundreds of square meters. After cleaning them up, they waited for the cement factory to start production. After that, a 2-story shop covering an area of more than 3,200 square meters was built, with a 500 square meter store in the front and a 2,500 square meter warehouse in the back, which could store more than 100 tons of cement and tens of thousands of cement tiles. As for the 200 square meter basement, it would still be useful in the future. It can be said that everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. The east wind is that the machinery of the 2 factories in China will be delivered to the place and then officially assembled and debugged for mining, production and firing of cement. As long as high-grade cement is produced, all projects can be started immediately. If everything goes well, next year, that is, after the rainy season in 2001, the two factories will officially make a profit. With these two cornucopias, Belsinger can be his own noble master comfortably again, and he doesn't have to work so hard like now. Having his own factory that makes a fortune every day is called a happy life. So such a strange scene appeared. The first two shops on the east side of the street on the most prosperous Central Cross commercial street in Sinja town have been completely demolished. All the foundations were dug and covered with plastic sheets, but there was no sign of any construction. Outsiders who didn't understand asked the residents of Sinja town and found out who the owner of the land was. What was it used for? Some outsiders heard that the 14-year-old Master Belsinger, who was well known in the town and had a lot of influence in the surrounding area, actually bought a large mine. He planned to open a cement factory. In the future, more than 100,000 people in Sinja town and hundreds of thousands of villagers in the surrounding area who needed to build houses could buy cheap cement produced by Master Singer's factory on the spot. The cost of building a house has dropped sharply. It can be said that the two building materials factories opened by Master Belsinger have benefited the present and the future, and have been unanimously supported by the entire Sinja town and the surrounding villagers. Everyone is eagerly waiting for the opening of these two local building materials factories. Some families with good conditions are now saving money to build their own houses. So, why did so many outsiders come to Sinja town during this period? I came to participate in the annual Light Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals in Hinduism. A grand temple fair is held every year between October and November. It is more lively in some big cities, but Sinja town is just a small town with more than 100,000 people, although it has a certain influence in the surrounding areas. However, the lively scenes of the festival in the town cannot be compared with those in big cities. However, compared with those larger villages, the temple fair in the town will be more lively. Merchants or small vendors in the town will discount their goods during the festivals and temple fairs. Gradually, a manic shopping festival has formed. Some poor people have saved up a year's income and spend it during the Light Festival temple fairs. It is enough to buy those cheap daily necessities. This is a way for poor families to save money and survive. So the town is particularly lively these days. The Hindu temple can be said to be crowded with people, and the Brahmin sacrifices in the temple are also the most beautiful time. His wallet was gradually filled with income, and he had nothing to do these few days, so Belsinger took his little wife Lina to visit the Lantern Festival Fair and enjoy the fun of young people. Chapter 37. Visiting the Temple Fair. Temple fairs, especially major Hindu festivals, are still very lively in this small town of Sinja. From 9 o'clock every morning, the town began to be crowded with people, and various hawking sounds came one after another. Hundreds of thousands of people around came to Sinja to participate in the temple fair, buying discounted goods, worshipping Lord Shiva from the temple, and satisfying their spiritual beliefs, so the town is very lively. There are too many people, and there are frequent public security cases of all kinds of people, and even serious cases such as rape and robbery. Therefore, the police station in the whole town is the busiest at this time, with only 50 regular staff to maintain order for hundreds of thousands of people. Just thinking about it makes me feel very scary. What effect can it have? It's just a deaf ear decoration. The workload of the police continues to increase, and the time on the streets every day exceeds 12 hours, and these police are tired and no longer human. This is a good time to get along with the police station and these policemen. How could Belsinger miss such a good opportunity? The entire family servants can be mobilized to go out to purchase all kinds of daily necessities, vegetables, fruits, mutton, chicken, fish, and then let the Brahmin chefs hired back at high salaries prepare exquisite meals. Then you sign lunch boxes to deliver the tired police patrolling the streets. These meals have meat, vegetables and fruits. Every meal is steaming hot, and a drink is taken away, which makes these policemen very moved. In addition, the last time they went to the nail village of Pula with Belsinger to flatten it, those policemen have a good income. They bring their 3-month salary and the sum of bribes they received. So the police in the town respect and fear Master Belsinger. This time, they didn't expect to be exhausted like a dog when they went out on duty. I didn't expect that Master Belsing, who is so high in status, still remembers these ordinary policemen. I didn't expect that he would actually deliver meals to them and deliver them 3 meals a day on time. The steaming hot meals have meat, fruits and drinks, which made these policemen remember the benefits of Belsing. Since the meal delivery incident, Belsing has become the most popular person in the police station, so much so that no one dared to mess up the Belsing factory more than a decade later. The inefficient Indian policeman who responded to a phone call actually arrived at the scene within 3 minutes. The speed can be described as riding a rocket, which is the use of building good relationships now. Anyway, prices are cheap now, and all commodities are on sale. It only takes a dozen days to spend a few dollars. You can also gain a good reputation and build a good relationship with the police station. So why not? How smart this deal is. Because there are too many people and the security is not very good. Belsing and his little wife Lina always sit on a sedan chair when they travel. There are 5 or 6 strong male servants around to protect them, and they even know that Master Belsing is going out to play with his wife. These more than 50 policemen squeezed out 2 policemen for personal protection. After all, you are short of money. Anyway, you are on duty on the street with Grandpa Belsing. You have food and drink, and you can also complete your work by the way. Why not do it? This is a win-win situation. The streets are crowded with people. There are hawking and bargaining everywhere. The temple fair is a big market with rich food and clothing. There are many snack stalls, but they are not so hygienic. The various foods they make look very delicious, but the sanitary conditions are really poor. If a bad person eats them, congratulations, you will have diarrhea. In addition, India's population has exploded in recent years. The pollution has intensified, and it has become the most polluted country in the world. Indians who have lived on this land for generations have grown up little by little with these environmental pollutions. The resistance in the body is so strong. Indians are one of the most resistant races in the world. So even though these snack stalls are full of flies and corruption, the snacks they make are still very delicious to ordinary Indian people. The most important thing is that the price is cheap and there is no adverse reaction when eating them. I have to admire the strong resistance of these people. Anyway, Belsing didn't dare to eat it and didn't let anyone at home eat it. If you are greedy, you can buy some fresh fruits to satisfy your craving. Then when you return home, there will be Brahmin chefs making delicious food. It is much safer than the street stalls, and it is also much more delicious. In addition to eating, there are clothes. There are stalls selling clothes, from traditional Indian gowns and vests to novel jeans and camouflage uniforms. Most women wear a very gorgeous sari. In addition to these, there are even jugglers and even monkey performers. They are carried on people's shoulders and can be said to be superior to others. They stand high and look far. They can see it most clearly and even see the wonderful performance of the monkey performers. The stingy Belsing applauded and rewarded 1,000 rupees. He walked through the bustling crowd and spent 2 hours before arriving at the temple not far away. The Festival of Lights is a traditional Hindu festival, and it is also a good day for people to enter the temple to worship and pray. So there are too many people entering the temple to pray to the god of love. But there is a very strange phenomenon that cannot be mentioned. Although the temple is surrounded by people, there is a very obvious feature. Most of the people surrounding the temple have dark skin and look like South Asians. They are not dressed well. Men are generally thin and women do not wear any gold or silver jewelry. Most of them are barefoot and can only kneel outside the temple railings to pray. These people have formed their own small circle and are separated from those who look like Shudras. These people are Dalits who cannot be touched. The closer the person prays to the temple railings, the more likely he is to be a Shudra. There are crowds of people outside the temple, and it is impossible to get through. However, there are still a few people who can enter the temple to pray. These men wear strings on their wrists, and women wear gorgeous clothes and the most expensive jewelry to attend. These people are high-caste people in India, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. All those who enter the temple to worship will buy a gift supported by a metal plate at the entrance of the temple. There are coconuts and garlands on it. The most peculiar one is a kind of rice flour made of rice. Take a piece of incense, take a plate, Take off your shoes at the temple gate and enter the temple barefoot. This temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva, who is also one of the 3 most powerful gods. The incense is very popular. People line up to approach the statue of Lord Shiva little by little. When they come to the front of the statue, they give the gifts in their hands to the temple Brahmin priests. Then take out some money from their pockets and donate it in the donation box. After praying, they slowly walk out. There is a Brahmin priest not far away. Half of these gifts will be kept, and the remaining half will be given to these priests. These things can be eaten, and can also be rewarded to the Shudras or Dalits outside the temple. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 38, Father-in-law and his family. Then the priest will smear some red powder on your forehead. So when you see some people in India with red marks on their foreheads, you don't have to think about it to know that these people have just come out of the temple. The whole worship activity has come to an end. If you are a high caste and wealthy person like a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, you will give a lot of donations to the local temple, which will be recorded in the merit book. When you come to the temple, the Brahmin priests will give you some preferential treatment, and there are also special priests who chant scriptures and pray for these high caste people. Belsingh's level is high enough, and his donation is high enough. In addition, he brought his wife to the temple to pray, and received special treatment, so he asked the Brahmin priests to chant scriptures and pray for blessings. Unexpectedly, when he just came out of the temple, he actually met his father-in-law. He brought a family to the temple to pray and donate, and he was obviously stunned. At this time, his father-in-law, 51-year-old Niruasha, was in a hurry at the door of the temple to direct his family to put on their slippers and line up to enter the temple to worship the gods. Since Belsingh and his little daughter Lina were facing each other, they didn't see the couple walking out of the temple and bumped into each other. At this time, Bhulashap, the 23-year-old brother-in-law, looked up and saw the shocked look of the couple. Then he smiled and patted his father, who was directing everyone to take off their shoes, pointed behind him, and said in surprise, "Dad, look at you. Look who is behind you. I didn't expect to meet my little sister today." The fat father-in-law Niru, who weighed 200 pounds, turned around in shock. It was not known whether he was anxious or hot, but his face was covered with sweat. When he saw his most beloved little daughter and son-in-law actually walking out of the temple hand in hand, the old man was very happy. He laughed and opened his arms and shouted to his little daughter Lina with a smile, "Oh, my little baby, you also come to the temple to worship the gods. Ha ha ha, I haven't seen you for almost a month. Let daddy hold you and see if you have lost weight. See how bad Belsingh is for you. Ha ha ha." The little girl saw her daddy and was so happy that she jumped into her daddy's arms like a little swallow. She acted like a spoiled child, then very fillily took out her handkerchief and wiped the sweat off her daddy's head. She said unhappily, "Dad, how can you say that? Brother Bell is so good to me. You are not allowed to bully my brother Bell, let alone to sow discord between us. Otherwise I will not go home and make you angry to death." Niruasha, who was holding his 13-year-old daughter in his arms, laughed. He certainly knew that his little daughter was very satisfied with the young husband she chose. The two little guys have been childhood sweethearts since they were young, and their relationship is very good. His youngest daughter is able to have a happy marriage, which is also the happiest thing for Niru. His youngest daughter is older than his own, and his second daughter is even luckier to find her true love. Her happy marriage is not as painful as the lives of his two eldest daughters and second daughters. Of course, India is also a very traditional country. When a daughter gets married, it is like spilled water. When a daughter grows up and returns to her husband's house to consummate the marriage, she is equivalent to a member of her husband's family. She rarely returns to her natal family, so India is a country with a very serious preference for boys over girls, and it is rare for a father and daughter to have such a good relationship. Seeing his father-in-law and his concubine talking and laughing, Belsingh also smiled and bowed to his father-in-law, and then said with a smile, "Dad, I didn't expect you to bring your whole family to the temple. It's really a coincidence. You should go to worship quickly. Lina and I will wait for you at the temple gate. Let's have a meal together at noon and have a good drink. At this time, the fat father-in-law, who was more than 1.85 meters tall and weighed more than 200 kilograms, laughed and patted his son-in-law on the shoulder a few times. Belsina almost broke apart and then said with a smile, "What Belsing said is right. We will go out of the temple to chat, eat and drink after worshipping Lord Shiva. Hurry up, everyone, hurry up." Then he let go of his little daughter Lina and quickly called people to enter the temple to worship. Belsing brought his little wife Lina to the open space at the entrance of the temple, sitting on the sedan chair, waiting for the return of the father-in-law and his family, while drinking fresh iced coconut juice. It felt super refreshing. 10 minutes later, the sweaty father-in-law brought his eldest brother-in-law and the male members of the entire Shah family. They walked out of the temple in a hurry. After meeting Belsing Lina in the square, they walked with 2 policemen to open the way. After half an hour, they finally returned to the couple's home in the town. As soon as he entered the door, the fat father-in-law began to yell, "Open all the doors and windows for ventilation, and then turn on the household appliances that are still considered luxurious in Sinjar town, the electric fan to cool down." Then he took a long breath on the sofa, unscrewed the iced drink that Lina asked you two to bring out, drank 2 bottles in a row and burped, then said with a smile, "It's so refreshing. The damn weather is so hot, much hotter than Shah village. There are few trees and people are crowded. I'm exhausted. The father-in-law is really weird. Shah village is the territory of the entire Shah family. There are nearly 2,000 people in the whole village. Because there are many trees in the mountains and the land is fertile. In addition, Lina's deceased grandfather has a very good economic vision. He took out most of the income from the family's land to invest in various stocks. Therefore, the wealth accumulated by the Shah family over the past few decades is several times richer than the Singh family, so the little girl's dowry will be very generous. The father-in-law has a heroic character, but he doesn't know how to manage and protect the ancestral foundation, which is more than enough. In addition, the adult brother-in-law is outstanding. The Asher family will not be lonely. With such a powerful in-law, they have helped the Singh family at the critical moment. Belsing was able to take charge of the family business at the age of 10, and most of the credit was due to the strength of Jamal, the old butler. Another reason is that Belsing has a good father-in-law, a powerful father-in-law, and the support of the entire Shah family behind him. Who dares to touch Belsing? The villages where the 2 families live are more than 10 kilometers apart, which is a day's journey. Belsing can support Belsing anytime and anywhere, so Belsing respects his father-in-law very much. The 2 people have not seen each other for more than 3 months. The father-in-law and son-in-law sat on the sofa and talked happily. Although the old man is not open-minded, he is more than enough to maintain the status quo. In addition, with so many years of life experience and the truth of dealing with people, he is much better than the 14-year-old Belsing. In the process of chatting, Belsing also gained a lot. In addition, what Belsing has done in Sinjar town for more than a month has been heard by his father-in-law, and the old man also admires his son-in-law for his courage. The entire family's property can be used to develop industries. If the little guy is really allowed to make some progress, he can become the undisputed local tyrant of the entire Sinjar town in the future. It will be a blessing for my youngest daughter to marry him. Chapter 39. Jamal Butler, who was confused when he went abroad. The family sat together and chatted happily. They had lunch at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then the father-in-law took the whole family to say goodbye, holding 2 bottles of Magnate liquor that Belsing gave him as a gift. Belsing's house was too small. How could so many people live in it? A bedroom and 1 living room. In addition, the women and the Shah family were worried about staying at home, so the father-in-law and the men of the whole family hurried back to their Shah village. After lunch, Belsing took his wife out shopping and relaxed himself. Master Belsing's life was so comfortable, but Jamal, the housekeeper, who took a plane for the first time more than 10 days ago, made a big joke on the plane. "I'm an old man in my 60s. I have only been to large and medium-sized cities such as Delhi and Udaipur. I have always taken cars or tractors. I have never seen an airplane, let alone taken one. So the old man got airsick when the plane took off, and he vomited a lot. He kept yelling, asking the flight attendant to open the window of the plane to let in air. Otherwise, the old man would suffocate to death. When he said this, all the passengers in the cabin burst into laughter, and the flight attendant was so amused that she patted the old man on the back. While the old man was venting, she held a glass of water and asked him to rinse his mouth, and said in a very gentle manner, "Old man, the plane is not a car, and it is impossible to open the window. You are airsick. Drink more water, and then lie flat on the aisle for 10 minutes. You will definitely feel very comfortable. You won't feel stuffy. It's really uncomfortable. Tell me that we have motion sickness medicine, but this medicine is harmful to the body. I suggest you don't take it." The old man heard the laughter of the passengers around him and knew that he had made a joke, but the old man was very uncomfortable now. How could he care about these? He lay in the aisle of the plane and felt better. He didn't feel stuffy in his chest. Why didn't the old man take medicine? That's because he heard the flight attendant say that motion sickness medicine is harmful to the body. The old man didn't dare to take it. He had to protect his body and serve the Singh family for 30 more years. He must see his little master, Bel Singh, grow up and be able to take charge of such a big Singh family. Only then will the old man smile in his grave and report the little master's achievements to his old master, Bel Singh's grandfather. This is why the old butler can be said to be loyal. He always puts the interests of the Singh family first. The old butler is trustworthy. The old man finally breathed a sigh of relief and was finally able to sit steadily on the chair. He didn't even eat the lunch on the plane and had an empty stomach. After sitting on the plane for several hours, he landed at Guangzhou Baiyun Airport. Finally, he was down to earth. The old man also recovered. He took his carry-on luggage and walked out of the airport with the translator, and then took a taxi to the city center. But seeing the bustling streets, cars coming and going, and people dressed in fancy clothes everywhere, the old man was dumbfounded. He always thought that the gap between China and India was about the same. Everyone was the same, but he didn't expect that a small Guangzhou would be so prosperous. What would Beijing, the capital, be like? It's simply a paradise on earth. The old man was like a country girl who came to the Grandview Garden. Everything he saw was strange. If it weren't for the young and quick reacting translator who saved the old man's life several times, the old man would have been hit by a car and sent to the hospital. The old man came to the bustling metropolis and felt a little uncomfortable and noisy. He wanted to stay in a hotel quickly, have a good rest, eat something, and fill his empty stomach. But seeing that the streets were full of those high-end hotels, magnificent and magnificent, how much would it cost to stay for a day? The old man touched his backpack and chose more than a dozen hotels. He still couldn't bear not to check in. The old man would not waste a penny of the Singh family's money for his own enjoyment. Under the translator's resentful eyes, he wandered around for an afternoon and finally found a relatively simple hotel in the suburbs of Guangzhou. He took out 3 RMB notes and booked a double room with a shower and internet, which made the old man feel very luxurious. After taking a shower and sleeping for a while, he walked out of the small hotel with the young translator at around 5 PM and found a relatively quiet snack bar. He spent a full 50 yuan and ordered a meat dish, a cold dish, and some noodles to have a good meal. He didn't care how resentful the young translator's eyes were and said to the young translator seriously, "Young man, don't think I'm stingy. The hotel we just stayed in costs 300 yuan a day, which is equivalent to more than 4,000 rupees a night. How much is your monthly salary? It's good to be able to live in such a good and luxurious hotel. Don't look at me like that anymore. It is a housekeeper's responsibility to save money for his family. We are here to work, not to travel. Have a good rest and take the train to ZJ tomorrow." The young and strong translator thought carefully about what the old man said and felt that it made a lot of sense. He was hired to work. It's not like he came here to enjoy travel. It's good to have food and accommodation. It's a bit too much to ask the employer to pay for staying in a star-rated hotel. Thinking of this, he felt more balanced in his heart. After returning to the small hotel, he felt that it was not bad. After all, his mentality was different and his feelings were different. Then the young translator left the old man in the hotel to have a good rest and recuperate, and took a taxi to Guangzhou railway station to buy a ticket to ZJ. When passing by the fruit stand, the old man who had taught himself a lesson paid for half a watermelon out of his own pocket. Watermelon is very easy to absorb and helps the old man recover. Eating the watermelon, the old man was also very moved. From then on, every time he went to the restaurant to eat, he would have a meat dish, which made up for the young translator's comparison mentality. 2 days later, with the address given by Belsinger, he contacted the other party, Manager Lee, by phone, and turned left and right in the mountains. It took half a day to finally arrive at Guangming Cement Factory. At this time, the cement factory had been shut down for more than a month. There were no other living things in the entire factory area, except the old man who was guarding the door and Manager Lee's dog. For the Indian friends who came to China to buy machinery from afar, Manager Lee was quite considerate and first visited the Guangming Cement Factory. After checking the 90% new equipment, the old butler Jamil felt very excited. These cement production machines are relatively advanced. It is the best in India. When the old man heard that 50 tons of high-grade cement can be produced in one day at full capacity, his eyes lit up. 50 tons is enough to meet the needs of the building materials market in the southeast of Rajasthan. It is also very consistent with the fact that the Belsing family is quite satisfied with cement production at this stage. It can meet their needs, and the most important thing is the low price. Of course, although the old man has no knowledge, he is old and wise. He can't ask for as much money as Manager Lee wants. Let the translator play dumb and even play rogue to finally cut the cost of 50,000 yuan. This set of high-grade cement production equipment with a daily production of 50 tons was won at a price of 850,000 yuan. Chapter 40, Asbestos-Tile Machinery Factory. In the words of the old man, the 50,000 RMB saved is enough to transport these machines to Shport and load them onto the ship. Isn't it good to save some money on the road? Besides, how can bargaining be prohibited in a transaction? Very good, very powerful. No one can object to the old man's words. After the two parties reached a sales contract for the machinery, Manager Lee invited the old man and the translator to the city center for a good meal. At Guangming Cement Plant, all the packed machines were packed and loaded into the prepared containers bit by large forklifts. Even the cement fermentation tanks were cut into pieces and marked with numbers, loaded into containers, and shipped to Shport overnight. Of course, 50,000 yuan for freight was not enough. When he settled the bill at Shport, the old man trembled with heartache. The freight cost 180,000 yuan, just for the short 200 kilometers from ZJ to Sh. It was really expensive, because all these cement production equipment were made of iron. In addition, dozens of boxes of classic Chinese liquor were also shipped away with these mechanical equipment. After renting some container berths at Sh terminal, the old man rushed to the asbestos tile production factory without stopping. He inspected the advanced level of these machines on site and felt quite satisfied. He checked the matching spare parts and the staff responsible for assembly were all in place. After that, he paid the balance and shipped them to Shport. Then the old man turned around and rushed to Wenzhou small commodity wholesale market and took the purchase list obtained by Master Belsinger to make a big purchase. Then he went to the building materials market to buy a lot of high-end building materials. After running around for half a month, he finally completed the task assigned by his master Belsinger. For a whole half a month, running around, the old man stayed in the car twice as long as he stayed in bed. In addition to his old age and frailty and the unfamiliar climate, the old man became thinner day by day, and his physical strength was not as good as before. When all the things were transported to India through dozens of containers through Sh, the largest port in Asia, the old man finally couldn't hold on and passed out. If the translator hadn't been careful, would the old man really be in danger? By then, Belsinger would have lost an arm. Belsinger already had few people at his disposal, and if he lost a loyal old butler, wouldn't that cost Belsinger his life? Fortunately, China's medical level is quite good. After lying in the hospital for a week, the old butler Jamil finally recovered and was discharged, and his weight returned to its peak state. He excitedly took a plane in Sh and flew back to the port of Jamnagar to wait for the container to be unloaded. When Belsina was inspecting his 500 square kilometers of mines in early November, Jamal, who was supervising the water and electricity supply of the water and electricity department at the foot of the mountain, ran up the mountain excitedly with his mobile phone. When the mobile phone was handed to Belsina, there was no signal at all, and the mobile phone was full of busy tones, which made Belsina laugh and cry. He gave his follower Jamal a slap on the head, and cursed with a bitter smile. "You idiot, can you use your brain? Can you get a signal on your phone when you come to the mountain? Tell me, what happened that made you rush up here so anxiously?" Little Jamal didn't care. He rubbed his head with a smile and said excitedly, "Master, I just received a call from Grandpa. He has arrived in Jamnagar and is waiting for the arrival of the container ship. He has successfully completed the task you assigned to my grandfather. Grandpa called to let me inform you that don't worry. The container and cargo ship will arrive at the port in a dozen days. Grandpa has already contacted the container truck and will ship it that night. Let me tell you that the trip to China is very smooth and everything you want is ready." Oh, this is great news, but suddenly Belsina felt something was wrong. After thinking about it carefully, he asked with sudden realization, "Then did your grandfather tell you whether the assemblers of the machines from the cement factory and the asbestos tile factory were in place after they were shipped back? After all, they are Chinese products, and the Chinese know them best. Without these technicians, how can we assemble the machines?" Little Jamal thought about it carefully, wishing he could slap himself twice, and said shyly with a red face and thick neck, "Master, I ran too fast when I went up the mountain just now and forgot about this. Grandpa repeatedly told me to tell you that in about a week, the Chinese technicians will come to Udapa by plane. He told me to pick up these technicians from China and tell me the time, place, names, ages and other information of all the technicians. I'm so stupid that I forgot all these things." Persina's jaw almost dropped in shock. "You actually forgot such a serious question. Why don't you forget it at home? I'm so angry. I'm still too young to take over the old housekeeper's job. I will train for a few more years. Otherwise, if Jamal Jr. takes over so early, the Singh family will suffer the loss in the end." He waved his hand and asked Jamal Jr., who was embarrassed and blushing, to go back to the mountain to supervise the construction of the hydropower projects. He sat on the sedan chair and began to inspect the hills again. He only had a simple map in his hand, which only marked the name of the mountain and the altitude. As for what minerals were buried under the mountain, there was no information at all. It seems that, in order to develop this large area of minerals in the future, it is necessary to hire a professional prospecting team to complete it. It was not until the sun went down that Belsing came to the newly completed dirt road and changed to the last rented off-road vehicle. He staggered back to his home in the town of Sinjar with flames and smoke. He took a good bath and changed his dirty clothes. He grabbed the phone in the living room and called the old housekeeper's mobile phone far away in Jamnagar port. The phone rang for a while before the other party answered the phone and asked in surprise, "It's Master Singh, I'm Jamal. I'm so happy to hear your grandpa's voice." Ha ha ha. The old man was really tired, so Belsing needed to comfort him first and then talk about other things before he said with a smile, "Yes, it's me. Grandpa heard that you were sick in China, so how could you come back so soon? This delayed the treatment. You should know that if your body collapses, what will the Singh family do? I didn't expect that my master would get sick, and the first thing he asked about when he called was his health, instead of caring about those cold steel machines." This touched the old butler very much. His eyes were red, but he smiled and knocked his chest with his fist. He smiled and said, after listening to the bang, "Master, do I sound like a sick person to you? I have been cured long ago, after staying in the hospital in China for a week. It's just a case of acclimatization and diarrhea due to overwork. What's the big deal? Not only did you not lose weight, you gained weight. You will see it when you get home. Ha 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 ha. I definitely didn't lie. Ha ha ha." Belsina was 100% sure of this. The old butler would never lie to him. Chapter 41. A group of people who don't want to live. In a dozen days, the machines from the 2 building materials factories will be delivered to the port, and then we will rent a car to transport these containers to Sinjar town. It is estimated that it will take more than 10 days. After calculating the time for the machines to arrive, it will be exactly 1 month later, which is quite enough time for me. After getting accurate information, Master Belsing finally put down his heart and went home to have a good rest for a night. At 10 o'clock the next morning, Belsing came to the long distance bus station in person to welcome the mayor of Qatar, who had spent a lot of effort from the mining department of Rajasthan. Several state-owned mines under his jurisdiction took great pains to bring in a group of desperate people. Yes, these people are desperate people. And they are all desperate. What kind of people dare to clamor that they are desperate people? They are the members of the blasting team responsible for blasting and filling explosives in the mine. Opening a mine, especially in India, a country with backward industrial technology, is not an easy task. Although concrete factories are not considered high-tech and are very popular in China, they are considered large industrial companies in backward areas such as India, especially Rajasthan. Because India's technology is so backward, the simplest and most effective way to open any kind of mineral deposit is to use explosives for blasting before mining. However, due to the backward technology, this kind of mine blasting is very dangerous. On average, one blasting team member dies in the blasting every 2 months. Either they are killed by the blasting stones, or they are accidentally exploded when removing the duds, and even their bodies cannot be found. Therefore, these blasting team members are nicknamed people who don't want to die. It sounds very ironic, but it can also show the helplessness and hardship of the blasting team members. These people are on the verge of death. They earn more than those directors in New Delhi every day, but they are in danger of death at any time. This state of high mental tension is prone to accidents, so these people are crazy, no matter what they do in the eyes of normal people. They earn a lot, spend a lot, and enjoy themselves. They need the best in food, clothing, and housing. After all, you never know when you will encounter an accident at work. Who doesn't want to enjoy more of the life of a superior person while they are still alive? So this group of people who don't want to die are pitiful and petty. In the mine of a small cement manufacturing plant in Sinjar town, they were able to dig up these blasting team members with decent skills in the state-owned mine. There are also 2 tons of high explosive TNT explosives approved by the Ministry of National Security, forcing a cement manufacturing company. The twists and turns in this process are almost as many as 9 bends and 18 turns, and there are all kinds of tricks in it. It makes people feel embarrassed to talk about it. Anyway, it was Belsinger who asked his partner, Magnate, to spend a lot of money and countless resources to invite these people who don't want to die back. Belsinger brought people to the long distance bus station early in the morning and waited for more than an hour. Just when Belsinger was impatient, Uruk, a human mule in the distance, ran in from outside the bus station in a hurry. Seeing Belsinger, he seemed very excited. He ran to Belsinger and said with a smile while panting, Master, the people we are waiting for have arrived, but I didn't expect them to hire a car. They came to Sinjar with their own tools, so they were an hour and a half late. Now they have entered the parking lot of the bus station. Should we go there now? Look, what did they say? The salary earned by these people who don't care about their lives is definitely not less than that of the police chiefs in Delhi. They also know how to enjoy themselves. Since they hired a car to come to Sinjar, they really know how to enjoy themselves. But these people are all masters, important puzzle pieces in their hands to make money. The respect that should be given should still be given. So even if Belsinger waited for an hour and a half and was full of resentment, he had to accompany his smile. He led a group of people out of the central waiting hall of the bus station, and Brooke, the human mule who had just gone to inquire about the news, led the way through the bustling crowd. When they arrived at the parking lot of the bus station, they could quickly notice a bus with air conditioning that was in sharp contrast to the shabby buses at the bus station. The black bus was parked there motionless, and there were no people around. Belsing followed the human mule Brooke to the bottom of the air-conditioned bus. There was no need to knock on the door at this time. The door of the bus opened with a bang, and a Sikh with a scarf on his head and gold bracelets on his hands walked out. He was tall and strong with a beard, his eyes were bright, and he was wearing a uniform similar to a military uniform. This Sikh still has a good eye for people, isn't this nonsense? Belsing has fair skin, and a face similar to that of a Westerner. Moreover, the robe he wore was also elegant and luxurious, forming a sharp contrast with the servants around him. This bearded Sikh recognized Belsing as their employer at a glance. Before Belsing could speak, the bearded man smiled and walked off the bus, took the initiative to extend his hand to Master Singh, laughed, and said enthusiastically, "You are Master Belsing, right? You are really young and promising. You are really capable to dig us from the state-owned mine. I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation in the future. I'm the captain of the blasting team, Brun Shatpa. I will live under the leadership of Master Belsing in the future. Please take care of me, haha, haha." Everyone said that this group of people was abnormal. It was indeed abnormal. The two sides spoke without restraint when they met. Although Belsing used the relationship of Mayor Katar and some shady means, he spent more than 5 million rupees on bribery to get this group of desperate people to Sinja town. This was a shady secret that was actually revealed to the employer in public when they first met. Their employer is their bread and butter. Telling a secret that cannot be told in front of their parents. Do you think he is crazy? Or should we say that this Sikh is too upright? Just by seeing the other party's clear eyes, Belsing knew that the other party was trying to show him a warning. He, a Kshatriya noble master, is not good in front of the Sikhs. But he is his breadwinner and the boss who pays him. An employee confronted his boss and asked him what unconventional means he used to get them to this remote town. "What do you want to do? Do you want to rebel, or do you want to hold me hostage and threaten me? You underestimate my character. I'm young and small, but that doesn't mean I have a bad temper. Whether you are desperate or desperate, as long as you come to Sinja, you will be in trouble. If you are a dragon, you have to coil up for me. If you are a tiger, you have to lie down for me. I'm your boss and the breadwinner who pays you. Without me, you will have to beg for food." Since the moment these people walked out of the state-owned mine, they have cut off all ties with those state-owned mines, and the mines have destroyed all the information of these people. It is impossible to go back. Only by working hard for me can you maintain the luxurious life that I, Master Belsina, think is very luxurious. You, the blasting captain, are giving me a show of strength. You are tired of living. Chapter 42. After several years of working as a purchaser, Master Belsing developed the ability to hide his emotions. When he saw the Sikh coming up, he gave him a warning. If it were another noble lord, he would definitely be furious and might even let his lackeys beat him up so that he couldn't take care of himself. These people have seen the world, and Sikhism is really not interested in the high-caste Kshatriyas of Hinduism. If he wanted to deal with this thorn, he would have to use kindness and force to make the other party convinced. So Master Belsing smiled and put down the other party's hand and said, "Hello Brun, I'm your employer Belsinger. Welcome to Sinja town and Singer Cement Company to work. You have come from afar, and it must be very hard. Don't worry, I know how dangerous your work is, and the salary I give you will definitely not be much less than that of the state-owned mines. I will provide you with the best food, clothing, housing and transportation. The only thing you have to pay is loyalty to me. Loyalty to Singer Cement Company. Oh, it's not simple. This little guy's not shallow. I'm so provocative, but he can still talk to me with a smile, and the meaning of his words is very obvious. That is, I'm your boss now, you have to listen to me. And Sinja town is my territory. Come to this remote town with backward economy. I can even provide you with the best food, clothing, housing and transportation. What I want is your loyalty. Is this to explain to myself what the cooperative relationship between the two parties is? Explain to myself that Sinja town is the territory of this little guy. The most important thing is to let yourself know how powerful this Master Singh is. In this economically backward and remote town, you can live a life of superiority. Can this be done with money? Obviously not. You have to have a certain status to enjoy the luxurious life that others dare not even think about. The two sides started a fierce confrontation after a few words when they met, and it was obvious that this Master Belsing had the upper hand. This little guy's really not simple. To be honest, Brun just let his employer Master Singh show his toughness because he was afraid that he would be bullied by this young employer. I didn't expect it to turn out like this, that his employer and his bread and butter parents would go against each other. Seeing that the other party actually warned him in a few words without leaving a trace, he didn't look like a 16-year-old boy at all. It seems that you can't judge a person by his appearance, and you can't measure the sea. Being young doesn't prove that his ability is small. Brune, who was warned, just laughed and didn't respond. Instead, he smiled and knocked on the air-conditioned bus a few times and shouted angrily, "You untouchables, we have arrived. Hurry up and pack your things, and get off the bus. If you are any slower, I will kick your thigh bones to death. The boss is here, and you lazy people are still looking for death. Get off the bus quickly." At this time, the air conditioner was turned on, and the bus was filled with noise, scolding, and jokes. After a while, people came down from the bus one after another, carrying special backpacks, and wearing uniforms similar to Brune's. They looked erratic and yawned. These people were well dressed and well nourished. Seeing their empty wrists and dark skin, it was clear that they were either from the capital or Dalits. This is also true. Even those high castes with noble status would not do these dangerous jobs, where they could lose their lives at any time. Only those untouchables who could not get food and those who were untouchables who had not received education would risk their lives to make money to support their families. A total of 25 people came down with special backpacks. All of them were men, although they were of different heights and shapes. But everyone's eyes revealed something called madness. It seems that this high-risk job that could put one's life at risk at any time brought these people mental pressure that ordinary people could not imagine. These people are like the jobs they do. They are all powder kegs, and a little spark will hurt themselves or others. It seems that these troublemakers have to be restrained in the future, otherwise it is hard to say what kind of trouble they will bring to themselves. Fortunately, there is no trouble that they cannot handle in Sinja town. After the queue was neatly lined up, Brun, as the captain, stood in front and shouted loudly to these desperate people, "Everyone, listen carefully. Now we have come to the workplace, Sinja town. The person next to me is our employer, Master Belsina. We will make a living under Master Sin from now on. Work hard and don't embarrass me. If anyone fails me, I will show you how I will deal with you. Now, Master Belsina will give a lecture. Everyone is welcome." Clap, clap, clap. The first to applaud, but none of the crazy people who stood crookedly and didn't look at Master Belsina straight in the eye responded. This stirred up a hornet's nest. The servants who followed Master Belsina saw these damned untouchables dared to ignore their own master. This is rare in the whole Sinja town and even in the whole of India. Are these people crazy and dare to despise a Kshatriya? Sabruk, the mule who has been the mount of Grandpa Belsina since he was a child, broke out first. He roared and rushed into the group of people like an angry black bear and would punch them with his fists. The servants of the Singh family behind him saw their master's direct lineage. The human mule Brook took the lead and rushed forward as if he had received a signal. He fought with these people in a melee, which was earth-shaking. To be honest, when it comes to facing death calmly, this group of people is the first, and no one dares to claim to be second. These people are in danger of death at any time, so they make the most money, which is also the biggest pressure. You can't say when you will be crushed to pieces. Of course, you have to enjoy the money you earn. In addition to the necessary living expenses for your family, this group of people eat, drink, play, gamble, and do everything. But on the other hand, this group of people's decadent life has already hollowed out their bodies. They look very well nourished and very strong. In fact, they are all just for show. How can they be the opponents of the servants of the Belsing family who are walking fast in the mountains? They are so-called mountain wolves and water pirates. In other words, people who live in the mountains are as fierce as wolves. If they don't take action, it's fine. If they take action, it's a ruthless move. The fighting power of both sides is not at the same level, and there is a difference in closeness. Even if I count on you guys who don't care about your lives to open a mine to make money, but compared with you and my servants, Belsina can still tell who is closer and who is farther. Seeing his servants fighting for him, Belsina didn't even look at them. Turning around, smiling, he found the bamboo sedan on the side, sat on it, opened the sun umbrella, and picked up the thermos in the storage box behind the sedan. While drinking tea, he smiled and watched 17 or 18 servants fighting 25 members of the demolition team, and the other side was crying and howling without any intention of stopping. Chapter 43, Widowmaker. Although Belsina was watching the excitement from the side, his eyes were always on the captain of the demolition team, Brahmin, to see what the other party would react. 3 minutes later, more than 20 demolition team members could only lie on the ground, groaning in pain without any ability to resist, while Brahmin was still standing there with a smile, motionless. This man was very smart. He knew that Belsina was trying to establish his authority. A powerful dragon could not defeat a local snake, not to mention that these demolition team members who were just wandering on the edge of life and death were just a little mouse crossing the street. Compared with the dragon, they were far inferior, so how could they be the opponent of the local snake, Master Belsina? But the boss was the breadwinner and the guarantee of his survival. Going against the boss before had already left a bad impression on the boss. Now he was protecting his group of useless people with eyes on the top of their heads and confronting his boss. Isn't that stupid? It's too late to get along well now, so how could he sing against Belsina? The clever Bruin just stood there and watched the excitement. He smiled and saw his team members lying on the ground after being beaten beyond recognition. He could only groan. He had no ability to resist and no reaction at all. The Sikhs were indeed strong-willed. In India, a country full of beggars, you could not see a Sikh begging. That was because the Sikhs believed that begging for free money was a sin. If you were not able to work and could not make money, you should be starved to death. People who were starved to death were respected by Sikhism, and beggars would be expelled from Sikhism. In addition, the Sikhs were strong-willed, would rather break than bend, and advocated the use of force. They fought from childhood to adulthood, and especially liked to join the army. If it were not for the regulations of the Indian Ministry of Defense, the entire Indian army would basically be the world of Sikhs. So for the Sikhs, how to view fighting is equivalent to commonplace. It is an entertainment activity that cannot be separated from eating and drinking. Isn't it normal to fight? There is no need to participate in the fight. So no matter what the purpose was, Bruin restrained his desire to take action and stood there smiling and watching the excitement. Seeing that there were only 5 of the 25 people who could still stand in the center of the field, if they continued to fight, they would all be hospitalized. Who would help him blow up? So at this time, Belsina sat on the bamboo sedan chair and shouted with a smile when he saw that the time had come. Brooke, you bastard, why don't you stop? If all these people are lying in the hospital, will you blow up for me? You servants who are so bold, stop it, stop it. To outsiders, Belsina's words sounded very harsh. This was to punish these servants who stood up for their master. But these servants and Brooke had been with their master for more than 10 years and knew Belsina's character too well. When Belsina was angry or happy, these people could tell it just by listening. So even though Belsina seemed to be angry and noisy, none of these servants were worried or afraid. Smiling, they supported each other and came to Belsina little by little to cheer each other up and sat on the ground with a smile. How could this attitude look like an attitude of being punished? They didn't seem to want to apologize at all. It was true that the master was like the servant. These idiots were becoming more and more like Belsina, and the 40-year-old brew next to him had seen everything. Seeing Belsina come forward to stop the fight, he knew that the little boss had let out all his anger. He could have a good communication with the little boss. Besides, it was easy to tell which was more important, the boss or the colleague who could die at any time. So Bruin looked at the idiots lying on the ground and groaned, and he roared angrily, "You losers, get up quickly. You are so lazy, and wait for me to deal with you. Line up quickly. Didn't you hear what I said? You losers." Plop, ouch. Seeing a demolition team member who was as strong as a black bear, but lying on the ground, and being beaten like a crying woman, he was still lying on the ground and groaning. Bruin kicked the other team member, and made them scream. Then they wiped their tears, and stood up crying. These people were brave and fearless, but they also knew pain and shame. So most of the people lying on the ground were too embarrassed to pretend to be unconscious. Now, the captain of this team would not stand up for them. He also kicked and beat the team members lying on the ground. It turned out that the captain was the first to betray and turn to the boss's side. The boss and his captain reached an alliance. Then they, the ordinary demolition team members, would have a good harvest. If they dared to cheat again, they would probably lose their lives. So they quickly stood up and lined up with bruises on their faces and then started to count. After all 25 people reported, under Brun's personal command, they opened the luggage compartment under the bus and the luggage compartment on the roof and cooperated with each other to take things down. Especially when those black boxes under the bus that looked like plastic boxes were carried up. Everyone was very cautious, as if it was a time bomb. At this time, thinking of the 2 tons of TNT explosives that he had spent more than 500,000 rupees to buy for blasting, he couldn't help but stand up out of curiosity, walk to Brun who was directing the car, and asked in shock, "Brun, these are the explosives I bought at a high price. You are really brave. Let's put 2 tons of TNT explosives under the car. If it explodes, none of you will survive. It's like sitting on a gunpowder barrel and a time bomb. You can think of it." At this time, Brun heard his boss's nonsense and didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He was afraid that his boss would lose face, so he quickly pulled the boss aside and spoke carefully. "Boss, who told you that these explosives are TNT? These are just powerful explosives for mining blasting. They are 2 different levels from those military TNT. Besides, the performance of these explosives is relatively stable. They will not explode during transportation without detonation." Damn, I was fooled. I said that 500,000 rupees can buy 2 tons of high performance TNT explosives. This is too cheap. It feels like a dream. I'm not dreaming. It turns out that these are special explosives for mining areas. They are 2 different levels from TNT. No wonder they are placed under the car for transportation without fear of collision and explosion. I was fooled. It's really embarrassing. Seeing his boss's heartbroken look when he heard that these explosives were not TNT, the experienced Brun knew what was going on without thinking. He smiled and patted his boss Belsina on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Boss, you are not a professional, let alone an expert in explosives, so of course you don't know the difference. Don't be so upset and think you've been cheated. Although the value of these explosives is not as high as TNT, the price of 2 tons will definitely not be less than 500,000 rupees. Mining and blasting rocks is a piece of cake. You will see their power when they explode. The Widowmaker is not called that for nothing. Ha ha ha." Chapter 44. Construction of the factory starts. If it were a Hindu, a person who patted a high-caste Kshatriya on the shoulder would either die or become disabled. Can a noble's shoulder be patted at will? But for this Sikh Brahmin, there is no such restriction. There is no possibility of any punishment, just like 2 friends patting each other on the shoulder. Especially when he heard that the price of these explosives would definitely not be less than 500,000 rupees. Belsing felt much better. It turned out that he was not deceived, and these explosives were worth the price. Fortunately, these explosives were not TNT. Otherwise, if they were really stored by his side, he would be scared, and it would be a troublesome thing to be afraid of being stolen or blown up. These explosives are so safe that they will not explode when being transported or placed. It feels very good to finally put down the stone in his heart. Getting rid of the time bomb, the threat at any time, made Belsing feel that the sky had turned blue. He smiled and began to arrange these blasting team members with Brun to take their own equipment. Carrying boxes of explosives, boxes of water pipes, and various tools, they came to the exit of the bus station. Without Master Belsina's instructions, the human mule Brook had already run out of the bus station and called the 3-wheeled vehicles that had been waiting for a long time to come over. Every 2 people sat in a 3-wheeled vehicle, plus a 3-wheeled vehicle for transporting tools, and the vehicle drove into the town in a mighty manner. Then they stopped on a street that was not very busy. Next to it was a 2-story independent building. This building was a dormitory specially rented by Belsina for these people who didn't care about their lives. There was also a basement where dangerous items such as explosives and detonators could be stored. The monthly rent exceeded 20,000 rupees, but the advantage was that the surroundings were quiet and would not affect the rest of these people. The living facilities in the house were quite complete. At least they could watch TV and enjoy the comfortable life brought by electric fans. When they came to the dormitory, Brune was personally responsible for the resettlement of these people. That afternoon, he and Brune had a detailed discussion in Master Singh's apartment about the salary and benefits of the blasting team. Each member of this group of desperate blasting team who are ready to face death at any time is highly paid. When they are working, that is, drilling holes and blasting, each person's salary is 1,500 rupees, equivalent to more than 100 yuan in RMB. Don't think that this money is small, this is India in 2000, and the daily salary is hundreds of RMB. The police chief here has this income, and the normal income is at this level, if you don't count corruption. When there is no work, the salary reaches 800 rupees, which is considered a high salary. After all, Belsina runs a cement manufacturing company, not digging for gold. The whole mountain is limestone. The ore produced after 2 days of blasting is enough for the cement factory to produce for half a month. It is impossible to blast every day, so it is good for these people to work 10 days a month. It can be said that they have high salaries and high treatments, and there is still a lot of free time. In addition to salary, there is the treatment of these staff. There are 2 days of paid leave every week, and Belsina invites chefs to prepare meals for these people for 3 meals a day, 1 meat and 2 vegetables. In addition, there are workers who wash clothes and workers who make beds. Anyway, these people are all uncles, and will not do housework, cooking or washing clothes by themselves. Everything needs to be served by someone. This condition seems very harsh. Are you a worker or a boss? Is it too much to enjoy a more luxurious life than Master Belsing? Don't say that this is not too much. The nature of this group of people's work is really too special. They can face death at any time. It is understandable that they earn so much as for such a high salary. That is to exchange their own lives. If this group of blasting team members have an accident when drilling and blasting, they can only blame themselves for being unlucky if they are blown to death or crushed to death. Belsing, the boss, does not have to be responsible for the compensation of the relatives of these deceased employees, which means that these people died in vain, and Belsing will not pay a large sum of money to compensate their families. Everyone thinks that the author is talking nonsense. Even now, people who died on duty in India are compensated. Basically, they are foreign companies, plus state-owned factories or formal government employees, and they will receive corresponding compensation. Whether the workers who died in ordinary work accidents can get compensation depends on the boss's mood. If the boss is kind, he will give some. If the boss is a black-hearted businessman who eats people without spitting out bones, then congratulations to the families of the staff who died on duty. They can't get a penny of compensation, so these people's high wages and high treatment are obtained at a great cost. This is a national situation, and the funds are too tight. The gold reserves accumulated over hundreds of years, that is, those gold bars, have begun to be used, so Belsing does not have much spare money. The high treatment of these people will inevitably cost a lot, but it is much more cost effective than compensating hundreds of thousands of rupees for the death of one every 2 or 3 days. So Belsing signed a 3-year contract with all employees without thinking. As for whether these members of the blasting team can survive within 3 years, it depends on whether Shiva can bless them. These people are low castes, belong to the slave class and untouchables. They have been oppressed for thousands of years. Shiva would not bless these people. Whether they can work well and survive for 3 years depends on their luck. After signing the contract, the members of the blasting team breathed a sigh of relief. Almost everyone knew in advance that they would spend their monthly salary and ran to the most prosperous commercial cross street in Sinjar. They began to squander their salary, spending it on wine and women, and doing everything. This was not something that the boss Belsina could interfere with. It was other people's salary that they spent. They spent their lives on the salary, and they could spend it however they wanted. How could your boss control it? After finally dealing with these desperate men, Belsina welcomed the high-intensity combat in the next half-month, getting up before dawn to eat breakfast. Then he took a bamboo sedan and rushed to the mining area with people. The highly paid engineers supervised the construction team invited from Udaipur, supervised the construction of the cement manufacturing plant, and the blasting team also ushered in their first batch of work. responsible for blasting the surface rocks on the limestone mountain. These rocks were transported by trenchers and trucks to the construction site of the plant, and then these rocks, steel bars and cement were used to build the plant and lay the ground. Due to the inconvenient transportation and the fact that there were only a few trucks and trenchers in Sinjar, they were not enough, so they had to hire people to push carts and tricycles. Even large carts pulled by livestock were used to transport the stones. With more people, more power and the low labor cost, the progress of the project was satisfactory. The construction speed of the entire site was very fast, but the price was too high. The price of cement shipped from Udaipa exceeded 1,200 rupees per batch, which means that the price of a bag of cement was equivalent to more than 90 yuan. The transportation cost was too high due to the bad traffic. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 45. Eating is a big problem. Belsina was so busy at the mine site that he had to take time out to come to the dirty bus station for the second time. He welcomed the technicians who came from China. These technicians included technicians who assembled machinery from Guangming cement factory and assemblers who produced special machines for asbestos-tile factories. The total number reached 15. These people were just ordinary senior technicians in China, but after coming to economically backward India, they were treated almost like the experts who assisted China in the last century by the Soviet Union. The boss, Mr. Belsina, personally welcomed them, arranged their food and accommodation, and then entertained these 15 technical experts from China at the most famous restaurant in town at night. What all Chinese technical experts did not expect was that the young nobleman, Mr. Belsina, could speak fluent Chinese. There was no obstacle for these Chinese experts to communicate, and coupled with his approachability, the two sides got along very well, and they became friends who could talk about anything while drinking. As the saying goes, when fellow villagers meet, their eyes brimming with tears. Although he had been reborn in India for 2 months, Belsina still missed his happy life in China in his previous life. This time, he saw his fellow Chinese, saw the familiar black hair, black eyes, and yellow skin, and heard the familiar Chinese southern dialect, which made him feel very close. This man was so happy that he got a little carried away. Belsina was drunk before the banquet was halfway through, and he was in a very ugly state, crying, laughing, and mumbling something that others couldn't understand. When he was helped up by others, he vomited on the spot. Although it was disgusting, Belsina's heroic and unpretentious performance won the unanimous praise of Chinese experts. Although this employer is young and has a high status, he is very sincere to these Chinese technicians who came from afar. The wine was almost dry. The employer was drunk and lay under the table just halfway through the banquet. He was heroic, sincere, and generous, and a very easy to get along with person. This made these mechanics who were apprehensive and far away from the border feel very reassured. It seemed that with such a sincere boss here, these Chinese technicians would not suffer any loss. For such a poor performance of the young boss, not only did they not despise him, but they also recognized him very much. When the boss got drunk, it turned out that the substitute butler, Jamal, came to replace him. Jamal was 17 years old this year, although he only had a junior high school education. He could not speak English or Chinese, but Belsina had been prepared and hired a translator who knew Chinese in Udaipa. The translator mediated the drinking. The heroic Jamal completed the drinking work that his master had not completed, and was very happy to have these Chinese experts accompany him. After eating and drinking, the special car arranged took these Chinese experts to their high-end apartment dormitories and took the drunken master back home. The next day, Belsina met with the two leaders of the Chinese expert group at home because the machines of the two factories could not be shipped back for a few days. The factory building has also entered the final stage. In addition to checking the size and area of the factory building and whether the strength of the construction is qualified, these Chinese experts really have some work to do. They can let the other party have a good rest for 2 days to adapt to the hot climate and customs of India, and then enter the intense working state after the machinery is transported back. Relying on the relationship between the two parties, Belsina, the host, naturally took everyone to browse the scenery of the historic town of Sinjar. Fortunately, the central cross street is very prosperous and lively, but once you come to the suburbs, the good guy can let these Chinese people gain experience. From time to time on the street, you can see a skinny, but very energetic yellow cattle, swaggering around in the streets and alleys. These cattle are not afraid of people, and these cattle are also relatively gentle. As long as you don't provoke them, they will not attack people. What makes these Chinese people feel strange is that there are these large and small yellow cattle strolling all over the streets. Isn't there a cattle thief who steals these cattle and drags them to the slaughterhouse to sell them? After the explanation, I learned that these cows are holy cows, a kind of living sacred animal. Not to mention, being sold to the slaughterhouse. Even if you are beaten, the Hindus who see you will denounce you, and even beat you. The tradition formed over thousands of years has let these cows know that they are protected animals, so although they are very thin, they are very optimistic in spirit. They are as arrogant as the bull demon king. They are almost rampant in the town and no one dares to mess with them, except for some yellow cattle that are as arrogant as 2.58 million. The most seen is garbage, and this garbage is almost everywhere. Various household garbage and plastic products are piled up in the middle of the road. There are even puddles of yellow excrement around. Flies and mosquitoes are buzzing around, and the most terrifying are some small markets in the suburbs. For example, the stalls selling vegetables, meat and fish are next to these garbage dumps. The big flies are buzzing like dark clouds, and these stall owners just drive them away. This kind of sanitary condition is unimaginable in China. Eating meat or vegetables contaminated by flies will kill people. But this situation will not happen in India. India is the most polluted country in the world, and the basic sanitary conditions are poor. Ordinary people do not have the habit of drinking boiled water, so the food, water, and air they consume have some diseases. As the saying goes, if it is not clean, you will not get sick. Such pollution every day increases the resistance of these Indians at any time. If foreigners come to India, they must not eat those street snacks and drink raw water, otherwise they will have diarrhea. It may even endanger their lives, but Indians will not have such a situation. It is quite strange. After 2 days of sightseeing, these experts from China have gained a lot of knowledge, especially accompanied by their boss Belsing. These people are flattered. In addition to playing, they go to high-end restaurants for dinner every day, but the problem is that these people are all workers who are native to the Chinese nation. Not to mention going abroad, some people have never even been to other provinces, and everyone has a standard Chinese stomach. Whether it was for the sake of novelty or to taste delicious food, after eating curry stewed with various spices for 2 days, trouble came. These very spicy curries really made these southerners a little uncomfortable. After being careful and careful, many people still had diarrhea and stomachache. As a last resort, the two team leaders could only find their boss, Master Belsina, and said with a smile, "Mr. Singh, thank you very much for taking us to visit this beautiful town these 2 days, and every meal will go to those more high-end restaurants. We are very grateful for your generosity, but we all have Chinese stomachs. Eating curry for 1 or 2 days feels very novel and delicious, but after a long time, we really can't stand it. Not only did the spicy stomach hurt, but we also had diarrhea, so we thought about Mr. Belsina and thought of a way. Can you solve our eating problem? This is a big deal, and we can't be careless." Chapter 46. Debugging Equipment. That's right. No matter who you are, what country you are from, or what race you are, eating is a big deal. People in a country or region have different living habits and tastes. Eating 2 meals of local dishes with different flavors is a pleasure, but no one can stand eating them every day. Of course, I was reborn in Belsina's body, and I was already familiar with the taste of curry, and I didn't find the taste of curry difficult to accept. Second, these technicians from China are different. They are authentic Chinese people with a Chinese stomach. Some southerners like to eat light food. Curry is so spicy and there are so many pastes. Whether it is stewed vegetables or meat, it is basically impossible to taste the taste of vegetables. I don't know what the vegetables are. I can only eat half a big rice. It's okay for 1 or 2 meals. It's strange that no one can stand it without diarrhea after a long time. 2 of these people have been sent to the hospital and received intravenous treatment. If it takes longer, more and more people will get sick. Even if the machine is shipped back in time, all these mechanics will collapse in the hospital. Who will come back to assemble the machine? Isn't this a delay? Besides, these people are all his compatriots. It is not easy to see them being torn into pieces. Seeing the 2 captains begging him, Belsinger also realized the seriousness of the matter and comforted the 2 captains. Don't worry, I overlooked this matter. You have also seen the traffic conditions between Sinja Town and Udapa. Even if we spend a lot of money to hire chefs, they can't make the most authentic Chinese food. It's too difficult to hire a chef. I would like to ask you too, are there any team members who can cook? If there are, please stand up quickly. I will provide you with fresh meat, ingredients and fruits every day. You can cook by yourselves, and I have to pay the technician who cooks separately. What do you think? The 2 looked at each other and saw the shame in each other's eyes. Why didn't they think of it? You can't eat so much strong curry, can't we cook it ourselves? I was scared by the sudden appearance of 2 hospitalizations and forgot about it. After Belsinger's reminder, the 2 men had an idea. Even the 2 captains were about 40 years old. They grew up in hardship and were good at cooking. This Indian boss had done his best. He could get a salary for cooking, and the boss also provided free ingredients. What else could he ask for? This boss had done his best to create the best living for these surviving technicians. He had given his all. Let's understand each other. So the 2 men agreed with a smile. These Chinese technicians would cook by themselves. As for the ingredients, pots, pans, stoves and other kitchen supplies, they would be provided by the boss Belsinger. In addition, the cooking technicians could receive a subsidy of 50 yuan every day. Finally, the serious problem of eating was solved. Both sides were happy and felt good. After a few days of looking forward to it, the production machinery of the 2 factories was finally returned. The old butler Jamal personally led a convoy of more than 20 container trucks to the center of Sinja Town. They swaggered through the city all the way. When had such a big scene appeared in the closed and backward Sinja Town? Through asking and understanding each other in groups, we learned that these trucks were delivering machinery and equipment to the cement and asbestos tile factory opened by Master Belsing. Seeing such a big move by Master Singh, some idle people in the town began to get excited. 2 factories. The number of workers needed must be quite a lot. As long as Master Belsing posted a recruitment notice, these people would sign up enthusiastically. Being able to work in a factory and having a stable income is a great blessing for these Shudra untouchables. From now on, life at home will be stable, and they don't have to live in those precarious days. Who doesn't want it? So pairs of eyes stared at the 2 companies named Singh Cement Company and Singh Cement Asbestos Tile Company with red eyes. When Master Belsing saw Jamal, the old housekeeper who led the team, in the mining area, his eyes were red with excitement. The old man was much thinner, but his mental state was very good. When Belsing saw the dozens of container trucks, he began to load and unload various machines in the containers, and the people coming and going looked ambitious. I have become the leader of the entire Sinja Town's industry. Moreover, the products produced by these 2 enterprises are very suitable for the needs of residents. As long as the products are produced, they will definitely sell well. By then, the money will roll in. It is much better than being a landowner in Laga village. After the machinery was transported down, the large gantry crane on the factory building began to hoist and assemble the machines and check the parts of each machine. Oiling was done when it needed to be oiled, and replacement was done when it needed to be replaced. In addition, the Chinese technicians were famous for their hard work and perseverance. They worked up to 15 hours a day. After a week of intense work, all the machinery in the cement plant was installed in place. 2 cement fermentation tanks had been erected and installed facing the conveyor belt. November 20th was a very good day. All the machinery and equipment of Singer Concrete Company were debugged and assembled. At 8 o'clock this morning, the entire cement plant was almost crowded with people, and all the officials in the town were invited. Sitting on a very luxurious rostrum, accompanied by Master Belsina himself, they drank tea, ate cakes and fruits, and had a good chat. In addition, the host today is the old butler Jamal. After intense preparations, all personnel in the entire cement factory are in place, and the detonator for blasting rocks was taken down with a new decoration. Then Belsinger became his partner, and was also a partner in secret. Mercator pressed the detonator together, and then 10 deafening explosions sounded from the limestone mountain 1 kilometer away. Tons of rocks were blown to pieces and collapsed. After all the smoke dissipated, after a safety inspection, there was no danger at the blasting site. The 2 trenches waiting for the loading and unloading site, 5 brand new heavy-duty trucks, and those large and small manual handling carts all rushed to load limestone, and then transported it to the crushing workshop. The large crusher made a deafening roar, crushing the large and small stones and clay, and transporting them to the firing workshop. The entire cement production line process was perfectly connected. After 3 days of interlocking, the first batch of cement that reached the highest grade and could cover 10 floors would be fired. Then the cement can be packed and sold. During the whole production process, all the machines have reached a perfect operation program. Although it is semi-production, that is, 25 tons of high-grade cement are produced every day, it can meet the current demand of the entire Sinjar town. After the first batch of cement is produced, the machine will be cranked to full load production. After a week of operation without any problems in all the machines, Singer Industrial Group will terminate the contract with the experts from Huaksha, and the 2 parties will successfully complete the handover. Chapter 47. Inspecting the asbestos tile factory. The cement production plant is finally on track. In 3 days, 25 tons of high-grade cement will be produced. By then, the 3,000 square meter building materials store on the central commercial street can also be put into construction. If all the raw materials and manpower are sufficient, the building materials store on the second floor will be completed within 15 days, and then it can be put into use after simple decoration. The remaining cement is all used for the production of the asbestos tile factory. When the entire cement factory is running at full capacity, half of the 50 tons of cement produced will be consumed by the asbestos tile factory, and the other half will be put into woven bags and sold around the entire town of Sinjar. The bag is printed with exquisite patterns and trademarks. The trademark is a leopard roaring to the sky and is majestic. It is very majestic. The name of Singer Industrial Group is printed on the trademark, and the weight of the cement grade, the address of the manufacturer, the contact number, etc. are printed below. Cement adopts international standardization, that is, 50 kilograms per bag of cement. As the cement grade changes, the selling price of these cements will also fluctuate. Of course, for the convenience of Singh Industrial Group, the cement produced by the cement manufacturing company has 2 grades. One grade is a high-grade cement that can be used to build buildings with more than 10 floors. The price is also the most expensive, reaching 800 rupees per bag, and the wholesale price per ton reaches 15,000 rupees. The second grade can be used to build buildings with less than 5 floors. The price is relatively cheap, reaching 500 rupees per bag, and the price of cement per ton reaches 8,000 rupees. It is acceptable. The quality of cement is quite good, and the quality inspection department of the market supervision department can't find any faults. Therefore, the cement factory has never stopped after it has just completed full load operation, and the business is booming. Of course, the consumption of the company has also reached half. The concrete factory was the first to be put into production, and the asbestos tile factory was officially put into production a week later. Today, the factory is divided into 2 parts. One part of the factory is the asbestos tile production workshop, and the remaining part of the factory is the asbestos production workshop. The asbestos added to the asbestos tile is easy to produce. The asbestos net produced is cut and transported to the asbestos tile production workshop. The cement asbestos tiles produced by combining cement and some additives are dried and then made into finished asbestos tiles and stacked in the warehouse. The specifications of asbestos tiles are 1 meter wide, 2 meters long, and 1 centimeter thick. Although they are very thin, the asbestos mesh inside and the high-grade cement make the hardness of cement asbestos tiles reach 80 kilograms. In other words, if an asbestos tile is lifted up in the air and an adult weighing 80 kilograms stands on it, it is already a very good top-level building material. It is basically the same production process as cement, and two products with different strengths and grades will be produced. The one that can withstand 100 kilograms is the number one cement asbestos tile, which costs 300 rupees per piece, and the second one, that can withstand 80 kilograms is 200 rupees per piece. Because cement asbestos tiles are a very cheap building material, they are strong and durable. Number 1 can withstand a service life of more than 15 years, and number 2 can only withstand a service life of 10 years, which is very popular. Of course, it has just been produced and has not been sold yet, but Belsina is very optimistic about the prospects of the two building materials production companies. Getting rich is a matter of time. Why rush? It is putting the cart before the horse to rush to sell the products before they are produced. So after the cement production plant was put on the right track, the building materials store on the commercial cross street also began to enter the intensive construction work. The idle Belsing handed over the entire cement production plant to Magnate, the factory director who graduated from UDAPA with a high salary, and let this highly intelligent factory director take on all the tasks of the cement plant. Magnate is 36 years old this year. He graduated from Delhi University. He is a top talent of the Vaishya caste and a professional manager. He worked as a department manager in a multinational company and was poached by himself with a high salary to serve as the director of the cement plant. With such a high level of education and knowledge, it is not easy to manage a cement plant. Professional work should of course be handed over to professionals. Belsing is a master and will not manage the cement plant himself. He is very relieved to let professional managers take care of it. So today I brought my old housekeeper to visit the asbestos tile factory, which has entered full load production, and see the villagers in Laga village who are not working during the farming season. The working conditions in the asbestos tile factory are satisfactory, and I'm also very satisfied with the salary I give them. The efficiency of work is very high, and it can be said that they are willing to work hard, and the asbestos tile factory has entered full load production. The machinery and equipment are all brand new and running smoothly without even the slightest problem. New machines are good. The director of the asbestos tile factory, named Ivan Rana, is 32 years old this year. He is a standard college student and has the same caste as himself. The ancient Kshatriya Rana caste is not much lower than his status, but his family has fallen into decline. Although he is a college student, he can only work for others, and it is acceptable for him to work for Master Singh. His ability is also good. At this time, a group of people just came to the asbestos mesh cutting workshop to inspect it. As they walked by, the careless people felt some itching and tingling on their skin. At this time, the screaming little Jamal scratched his neck and arms, while shouting at Belsina in shock. Master Singh, are these asbestos nets poisonous? Why do I feel stinging and itching from such a distance? Master, please leave here quickly. I wonder if you have any problems. What should we do? As he said this, he did not forget to call his grandfather, old Jamal, to help him carry the stunned Belsina out. After running out for more than 10 meters, Belsina finally reacted and laughed. He quickly let the grandfather and grandson put them down by themselves, and then gave little Jamal a slap on the head and scolded him with a smile. You ignorant guy, don't embarrass me here. You're exaggerating about being poisoned. Asbestos mesh is what ordinary people call glass fibers, which are very thin and sharp. When it scratches the skin, it will cause some allergic reactions, and it will be painful and itchy. I think I should take a shower to solve the problem. Look, I scared you to calm down. Although he said so, Belsina's sensitive skin still felt itchy and painful on his neck. He wanted to scratch it with his hands. At this time, Director Ivan finally realized the seriousness of the situation. He was so anxious that he forgot that asbestos mesh was irritating to human skin. He was so rash that he brought his boss Belsina to visit the cutting workshop. Isn't that asking for trouble? Those workers were all wearing protective clothing and protective masks to produce. How could a few people not get hurt if they broke in stupidly? Seeing that his boss Belsina finally couldn't stand the itching of his skin and started scratching, he was simply scared. He grabbed Belsina's hand that was about to scratch his neck and said loudly, "Boss, the solar bathroom we just built here can completely solve your problem. Just take a cold shower, and it will be fine. Come with me, and don't scratch him." Chapter 48, So-called solar bathroom. Several people hurriedly ran out of the guessing workshop, and their embarrassed appearance made the workers behind them laugh. They also had this kind of skin itching when they just started working 2 days ago. It was even more serious than several people. After the explanation of the factory director, they learned that just taking a cold shower and washing their bodies would relieve it. In addition, with the distributed protective clothing, the skin itching did not appear again, but the protective clothing was of poor quality and very thick and airtight. Fortunately, it is the dry season, when the temperature does not exceed 30 degrees, so it is still relatively comfortable to work. But if it rains every day in the rainy season, it is damp, humid, and hot, and the temperature reaches more than 30 degrees, these people will suffer, but the wages paid by the asbestos tile factory are worth their suffering. Now is the time when the entire asbestos tile factory is in full production, and almost all the workers are on the front line of production, so the simple solar bath that has just been built is empty. The men were stunned when they saw the bath. It was really simple. In addition to the partitions made of cement and red bricks, the roof was full of gasoline barrels painted black. Then a pipe with a plastic lotus nozzle stretched out from it. This was the whole picture of the solar bathroom in the asbestos tile factory. Little Jamal, who wanted to take off his clothes and take a bath, was stunned when he saw the bathroom. That couldn't be simpler. He turned around and shouted at the factory director Ivan, "You are also a high-caste kshatriya. Don't you know that our master Belsing is noble? How could you take a cold bath in such a simple bathroom? You can imagine that Master Belsing would take a bath here like those untouchables? It's really a sin. What do you think, the factory director? Do you think our Master Belsing is the same as you, a down and out kshatriya? It's really absurd." To be honest, whether in Laga village or in his own apartment building, Belsing lived like a master. All the food, clothing, and daily life were done by the maids. Even getting up and dressing myself was never done by myself. Bathing was even more luxurious. The bath water was freshly boiled water from various fruits and woods. Not only was the water temperature very hot, but it also had a fragrance. There were also various flower petals soaked in the water. How could I take a bath in such an open air environment? How could I not be shocked? But my body was getting more and more horny, and it was really uncomfortable. It was already like this, so why was I still so particular? Seeing the helpless look of Director Ivan being questioned by Little Jamal, I was furious. Today, I knocked Little Jamal's head for the second time and roared, "Get out, you little confused. This place is several kilometers away from our apartment. When you get home, your skin is scratched. Why are you still so particular? We are all men here. We are all family. What is there to be afraid of? Hurry up and take a bath. I really can't stand this itching. Hurry up and get the soap." Although Belsina was telling the truth, taking a bath in such an open air and simple environment made the old housekeeper Jamal feel that it was really unworthy of his identity as Master Singh. The conditions are like this. If you don't wash, it will itch and hurt. After scratching your skin and leaving scars, it will further damage the glorious image of Master Belsina. Can't you tell which is more serious and which is less serious? No problem, take a shower. It's called a cold shower, and it really is a cold shower that freezes people to death. Although the gasoline barrel on it is painted black, the temperature is only 26 or 27 degrees on a cloudy day. The cold water poured on the body is so refreshing that several people shivered with cold. But they still insisted on wiping Master Belsina's body, and they must not let their boss catch a cold. Then these people began to wash their bodies. After everyone washed and went to the dressing room, trouble came. There was still some asbestos stuck on the clothes, and wearing them would scratch the skin and make it itchy. But several people also came in the same set of clothes without changing. What should I do? I can't go home naked. If I really run back naked in less than half an hour, the whole town of Sinja will know about Master Belsina's scandal, and I can't talk about it. But how to go home without clothes? And how to go out without changing clothes? This is a difficult problem. Comfort and face are very serious issues. How to choose? There is no choice. Several people stood naked on the cement floor of the changing room. You looked at me, and I looked at you. We were all stupid. Belsina even wanted to cry. Why did you run into the cutting workshop to inspect so carelessly? Isn't this a disease? Now it's okay. What should I do? Just when everyone was looking at the pile of clothes in front of them, Ivan, the factory director, seemed to have made up his mind. He bit the bullet and put on his robe again, especially when the sharp glass thread scratched his body during the process of putting on clothes. The pain and itchiness made Mr. Factory Director grin. It was because of his negligence that his boss was in an embarrassing situation. If he didn't step up, who would? While putting on clothes with a grin, he said to his boss, Mr. Belsina, with a smile and tears, "Boss, you must not wear these clothes. Wait for me here for an hour. I will go back to your apartment to get you clothes, and then rush back." The factory director who stayed at home also had his concubine Lina, and the rest were all maids. If the factory director suddenly came to the house to ask for clothes from his wife, he would be kicked out. If he was not careful, he might even call the police. This was another trouble. It was impossible without his own people. The old housekeeper was old and not in good health, so only the young Jamal could take on this important task. Seeing Jamal folding his arms and looking at him indifferently, Belsina was so angry that he kicked him on the buttocks and then scolded Jamal in the look of confusion. "You idiot. Then you put on your clothes and go back with the factory director. There are only women in the house. What do you want them to do? Without your testimony, those women will call the police. Hurry up and put on your clothes and go back. Get the clothes and see how I deal with you." Jamal, who was kicked for no reason, felt very wronged. After hearing what Master Belsina said, he reacted immediately, jumped up and put on his clothes, while assuring Master Belsina, "Don't worry, Master, there will be no problem if I go back with you. Why are these damn things so uncomfortable and itchy?" The two of them quickly put on their clothes and ran out with their teeth bared. Only 5 or 6 people were left in the bathroom with their butts naked. You looked at me, I looked at you. Everyone didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Belsina felt that he had lost face today. He sighed and sat naked on the cement platform of the dressing room with his eyes staring at the sky, and he was shivering with cold. Who did he offend? How could such a scene appear? Chapter 49. Severe Cold. Master Belsina just sat on the cement platform like a silly duck, looking up at the sky. The sky was grey and there was no sunshine. The temperature also began to drop obviously. It seemed that it was going to rain. What was going on? What kind of sin was this? If I stayed any longer, I would freeze to death. But asbestos is a serious irritation to human skin and has irreversible damage to the body. Therefore, the workers in the cutting workshop wore protective clothing, protective masks, protective glasses, and even protective gloves and protective shoes. Belsina spent a lot of money to arm these workers. After all, asbestos is a kind of original sin of skin cancer. It is not easy to train a skilled worker, to let them work for a few more years, and it is also to earn more wealth for themselves. After a few minutes, Belsina felt that he was getting colder and colder. His buttocks sitting on the cement platform were getting colder and colder. He had to squat on the cement platform and hug his arms, waiting for his feathers, that is, clothes, to arrive like a drowned chicken. But at this time, an evil wind came from nowhere and blew into the simple solar bathroom. Good fellow, although his body was dry, he was naked, enjoying the breeze in the shade. This feeling was so sour and refreshing that Belsina's lips turned purple, and he shivered all over. If he continued like this, he would definitely catch a cold. But everyone was locked in this simple solar-powered bathroom. Where else could he run to? If he was placed somewhere else, or when there was sunshine, warm water would be poured on his body to resist hypothermia. But now the water in those so-called solar water heaters was so cold. Pouring it on the body was equivalent to chronic suicide. And what was the difference between drinking seawater after a shipwreck? He would die sooner or later. At this time, the old butler Jamal, who had been paying close attention to Master Belsina, saw that Belsina had curled up on the cement platform. The old butler was trembling all over and felt so distressed. Master Singh was the only heir to the pillar of the entire family. He didn't expect that an asbestos-style factory would be turned into this state just by inspecting it. The old butler felt very guilty, gritted his teeth, and cursed at the burly male servants beside him. I say, are you guys stupid? Didn't you see that Master Singh was shivering with cold? You can't warm the master up. What's the use of you? I'm the master. If I really get sick from the cold, you guys won't get this month's salary. The stupid servants looked at each other, all naked. How could they keep the old man warm? Could it be that the few people held Bell in the middle like a master to keep warm? The master would have to kill himself if that happened. Seeing these male servants were still stupid, the old butler Jamal really had a splitting headache. He slapped his forehead and then, like an old lion, clapped his hands and shouted at everyone. You idiots. Can't you turn your backs and surround the master and use your body temperature to warm the master? Hurry up and move. All of you turn your backs and squat around the master and use your backs to keep the master warm. Hurry up. Several burly male servants finally reacted. Yes, lend your backs to Master Belsinger and go wherever you go. Isn't that enough? Why bother so much? If the master is sick, they will definitely be punished. The old butler doesn't care whether these people are willing or not, just finding a punching bag to vent, which is enough for these people. So several servants plus the old butler Jamal squatted on the cement platform together, and then with Master Belsinger as the center, they squatted around Master Belsinger with their hands facing outwards, using their own backs to keep Belsinger warm. But even so, it was still a drop in the bucket. Belsinger still felt cold and couldn't help but feel his nose itchy. He sneezed several times in a row, and his nose was full of snot. This time he was done for, and he couldn't escape the cold. As his body temperature dropped, Belsinger's head became more and more dizzy, and he wanted to sleep more and more. But Belsinger knew that, if he fell asleep in this cold bathroom, he had to go to the hospital. Besides, what good doctors and good medicines were there in Sinjar town? In the end, he had to go to Udaypur. What should he do with these things at home? He should hold on. He didn't know how long it had been, but Belsinger heard the sound of running outside, and then he felt someone pulling him. He opened his eyes reluctantly and saw Jamal and his grandson putting clothes on him, and then he heard his human mule Brooks' rough voice shouting, "Hurry up, put the master on me, and then we will ride the three-wheeled motorcycle back. This way, hurry up, hurry up, why are you guys still dawdling, hurry up." Then Belsinger knew nothing and fell asleep. At this time, the family members were like their beds on fire. Belsinger was placed on the tricycle, accompanied by the old butler and Jamal, and then the human mule Brooke kicked the owner of the tricycle off the motorcycle, and then shouted, "Go to the street at the home of Master Belsinger, and the car will be parked on the street for you. Don't worry, you won't lose a penny." Then he started the tricycle without hesitation, and rumbled back to Sinjar town, and the tricycle flew up. The old butler Jamal still urged him to hurry up, and Brooke rushed home in 10 minutes instead of the 20-minute journey. Then several people hurriedly carried Belsinger home. Then Jamal, the butler, told his grandson to go to the central hospital to find the doctor who specializes in treating colds and brings special medicines, no matter how much the initial consultation costs, to come to Belsinger's home as soon as possible. At this time, the whole house was in a mess. Women were crying, men were shouting, and even Belsinger's little wife Lina was so scared that she couldn't move. When she saw her husband's face flushed, and he had fallen asleep, she couldn't even cry properly. Finally, under the command of the experienced old housekeeper, she used ice cubes in the refrigerator to wrap a towel to cool Belsinger down. More than 20 minutes later, the doctor from the central hospital, who was carried by 2 people and running out of breath, finally came to the house with a medicine box on his back. After examination, Belsinger had a severe cold, and his body temperature reached 39.8 degrees, almost burning to death. Fortunately, Master Belsinger was a celebrity in the town. Everyone in the town knew that Belsinger's grandfather's family had a lot of money, so the hospital used the best antipyretic and cold medicine and gave him an intravenous injection directly. Then he used alcohol to wipe Belsinger's body to cool down physically. It was tossing until midnight when Belsinger opened his eyes faintly and shouted in a voice that only mosquitoes could hear, "Water, I'm so thirsty, give me water, I want water, I want water." Lina, who was standing by, was the first to hear Persina's struggling voice and shouted in surprise. "The master is awake. The master is awake. Bring some water. Bring some water." Chapter 50. Flyers are not as good as verbal information. My goodness, a cold shower made him sick for a week, and the fat boy Belsinger couldn't lose 5 kilograms. His wife Lina was so distressed that she burst into tears. She took care of Belsinger's diet and daily life. After a week, Belsinger's personality finally recovered. He still had a little cough and phlegm, but he could finally go out and work normally. In this week, the cement factory and cement asbestos tile factory of Singer Industrial Group have entered the full load production state. More than 20,000 asbestos tiles have been produced and stored in the warehouse of the asbestos tile factory. The cement factory has reached the most perfect state after full load operation, and the daily production level has reached 50 tons. In addition, on the 10th Street of Central, which is the 3,000 square meters of the 2-story Singer building materials store diagonally opposite his house, has been officially completed. Now the glass is being installed, and the interior decoration is being done. The decoration is also a simple wall scraping, floor tiles, a few counters, and product display cabinets. There is nothing else. The largest space is the kitchen warehouse behind the house, which can store 30,000 standard cement asbestos tiles and 60 tons of cement. In addition, the store manager was successfully found through Jamal, the eldest son of a Vaishya family who graduated from high school in Laga village and used corn leaves to weave handicrafts for their children to go to school. To serve as the store manager of the building materials store, and this 20-year-old boy has passed the repeated tests of Belsinger very perfectly. His hands and feet are also very clean, and he is willing to work hard. He is also very eloquent. After all, he has helped his father and mother sell those handicrafts made of corn leaves since he was 12 years old. He is also an old businessman with rich experience. In addition, he is from his own village and is trustworthy. His parents, brothers, and sisters are in the hands of Belsinger. Dare to have second thoughts? It is most appropriate to hand over the store manager to this young man named Viral. The other party is also competent for the easy job of store manager and has given Belsinger a lot of useful and constructive suggestions. On November 30th, the building materials store was renovated and opened grandly. Of course, the opening was not as lively as in China. There were drums and gongs, dragon and lion dances, and firecrackers, which were unique to India. The store received flower baskets from leaders of the town government at all levels. In addition, Singh industry was already well known in the entire Sinjar town, so there were a lot of people. And every guest who came, or ordinary people who came to watch the excitement, each of them held a very beautifully printed brochure in their hands. This brochure was the advertisement that Belsinger wanted to come. The brochure was printed very beautifully, and it was the trademark of the Belsinger family. It was the leopard that killed the kingdom. The second page was the product introduction, with photos of 2 branches of Singh industry, Singh cement factory and Singh asbestos tile factory. There were also some photos of the production line. The third page was printed with product introductions. It included several high-grade cements, 2 specifications of cement asbestos tiles, and then the price introduction, as well as the sales reservation phone number and more information. And within the first week of opening, all products will be discounted by 20% to give back to the folks. Such favorable conditions. Belsinger had already concluded in his heart that the building materials store would be very popular within a week of opening. But things did not go as he wished. Belsinger was stunned by the slap in the face. 3 days after opening, he did not receive a single business order and did not sell a bag of cement or a piece of asbestos tile. He could only produce, but could not sell them. The warehouse of the factory would soon be full. In addition, it would be the rainy season in a few months, and it would be damp everywhere. If the cement was stored in the warehouse for a long time, it would definitely be damp and deteriorate, and the loss would be huge. There was no business in 3 days, which made the whole family feel tense. In order to work together, there would be more people and more good ideas. As for who would come up with an inspiration to solve the current dilemma, Belsinger gathered all the senior executives of Singh Industrial, including Jamal's butler and grandfather, in the reception hall of the building materials store, to discuss how to solve the current dilemma. There were 3 sets of leather sofas in the center of the living room, and in the middle of the sofas was the frowning Master Bell Singer. All around were Master Singer's important subordinates. Now everyone was drinking tea silently, and there were even 2 people smoking, making the whole living room full of smoke, and choking Bell Singer to cough. Whether in this life or the last, Bell Singer never smoked. He didn't smoke, only drank, but this time he was too upset, and encountered the biggest obstacle since his rebirth. Seeing these people puffing smoke, he was also itchy. Fortunately, smoking a cigarette to relieve the irritability in his heart was also a good choice, so he unconsciously grabbed the cigarette box that Mabrigo had placed on the coffee table, casually took out a cigarette and lit it. He took a deep puff, and choked and coughed. The old butler sitting next to him patted his back, and handed him water. Bell Singer, who finally recovered, breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, "I invited you all here not to drink tea and smoke, not to stare at each other, but to solve problems. You leaders have seen the world. Why are you all so stupid now? You can't think of a solution to the current predicament. No one should go back. I'm hungry here. When I think of a solution, I'll eat." At this time, Villa, who was sitting at the outermost edge, saw these factory managers who usually acted like 2.58 million people. All of them were wilted and hung their heads, not daring to look at Bell Singer from a distance. What a bunch of good for nothings. This time is my chance. If I can grasp it, I can completely join the senior industry of the Bell Singer family. At that time, your parents, brothers, and sisters will not have to work so hard. Success or failure depends on this one move. So Villa, the second youngest among the group, deliberately coughed. After seeing Master Bell Singer looking at him, Vil said carefully, "Sing, Master, we have sent out more than 3,000 leaflets. It is the dry season now, which is suitable for building houses. When renovating houses, a lot of building materials are needed. Why are the cement and asbestos tiles we produce not selling? I feel that the publicity is not strong enough." Bell Singer tilted his head and thought for a while, then took another puff of cigarette, and frowned and said slowly, "You have come to Sinja Town with your parents, since you were a child, selling your woven handicrafts. You should know that most people in the town are illiterate. Even if we print more leaflets, it may not have any publicity effect. But if we want to advertise on TV or radio, there are so many poor people in the town. More than 98% of the families don't have TV or radio. How can we advertise? How can we spread the word?" When Will heard that Master Bell Singer misunderstood his meaning, he actually thought of advertising on TV. Advertising on the radio. If it succeeds, it will be a miracle. How much money will it cost? And we have to go to Udapa to advertise, and there is no time. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.